Chapter 4968. Dear host, don't you plan to release the evidence of Yun Xiaoxiao drugging your brother? No, it doesn't make much sense. At most, Yun Xiaoxiao will be ridiculed. Besides, she hasn't succeeded in drugging him yet. When the time comes, people will say that the family Tang is overbearing. Moreover, the evidence will be suspected of being unorthodox. Although I can't release the evidence, I didn't say that Kong Feng can't know about it. Kong Feng is actually a very smart person. Look, he even suspects that Yun Xiaoxiao's child is his. He should have already guessed that the incident last time was a trap. Dear host, aren't you afraid that Kong Feng will suspect that this was a trap set by the family Tang and use it to blackmail you? If he's smart enough, he'll only go after Yun Xiaoxiao and not provoke me. If he only targets Yun Xiaoxiao, I won't ask any questions. If he targets me, I will let him experience what real hell is like. As Tang Guo expected, Kong Feng had already guessed that the incident last time was a trap. When he found out that the child's blood type was O, he was even more certain that Yun Xiaoxiao's child was most likely his. Who was the one who set this trap? When he interacted with Yun Xiaoxiao that day, he could clearly feel that Yun Xiaoxiao had taken the initiative to drug him. She had even done it secretly because she didn't want anyone else to know about it, including him. In other words, Yun Xiaoxiao had wanted to do this from the beginning. Thinking about how Yun Xiaoxiao had named Tang Yi as the father of the child, he could guess that Yun Xiaoxiao wanted to rape Tang Yi. Tang Yi was just a playboy. How could Yun Xiaoxiao like him? No, Yun Xiaoxiao didn't like him. After that day, Yun Xiaoxiao had obviously muttered a few words to him. Yun Xiaoxiao's words should have been directed at Tang Yi, not her. However, Yun Xiaoxiao didn't know that he had already been replaced. There were two traps. The first was Yun Xiaoxiao against Tang Yi. The second was the mastermind behind this plot against Yun Xiaoxiao. They replaced him with Tang Yi so that Tang Yi could make a comeback. The person who did this must have known that Yun Xiaoxiao would take action and retaliated. This person must be closely related to the family Tang incident, or one of the important missions of the family Tang incident. Of course, none of this was important. What was important was what he should do next. It was obvious that Yun Xiaoxiao was a hot commodity to him. Yun Junling was about to die, leaving behind Madame Yun and Yun Xiaoxiao. What kind of persona should he present himself as to make the mother and daughter treat him differently and agree to his marriage with Yun Xiaoxiao? He was definitely qualified to be the young master of the Kong Consortium. Moreover, if his father knew that he had a child, he would definitely help him maintain his reputation. Yun Xiaoxiao probably wanted to use Tang Yi to give birth to a child. Later on, Yun Junling wanted to find the biological father of the child. Yun Junling refused to let go of Tang Yi. Actually, it was not because she wanted Tang Yi and Yun Xiaoxiao to get married, but because she wanted Tang Corporation to be in the wrong. Once she gave the order, there would be someone to take care of Madame Yun and Yun Xiaoxiao. He had to admit that this woman was really good at scheming. Unfortunately, Tang Corporation's people were better at scheming than her. Now, she had no other choice. If he were to send Wenwan to her at this time, the entire Yun Corporation would be hers. Yun Junling needed an obedient, responsible son-in-law who could also help Yun Shuwei. He, Kong Feng, seemed to be qualified for this. Or rather, he was very qualified. Peak. Chapter 4969. After a week of preparation, Kong Feng went to the Yun family to meet Yun Junling and Yun Xiaoxiao. He did not pretend to like Yun Xiaoxiao very much. He had been trying to understand Yun Junling's personality for the past few days. Compared to love, she valued responsibility more. I think I walked into the wrong room that day. Actually, I was in a daze and didn't know what I did. When I woke up in the morning, I did feel that something was wrong, Kong Feng said frankly. I only just heard about what happened here, CEO Yun. Actually, I'm not sure. I only came here because I heard that the child had the same blood type. Whether it's true or not, there has to be a test result. If it's not, everyone will be happy. If it is, I will still take responsibility. Yun Junling believed his words, and Kong Feng looked very sincere. Yun Xiaoxiao saw that Kong Feng was a good-looking man who did not look any worse than Tang Yi. She heaved a sigh of relief. He did not look bad. If her son was this person's, he would not look too bad in the future. Hence, Kong Feng and the child did a paternity test. The results showed that the two were indeed father and son. It seems that I did something wrong in a daze. I'm willing to bear the consequences. My idea is to give the child a complete family, but it still depends on what CEO Yun and Miss Yun thinks, Kong Feng said. Kong Feng said, if you don't mind, I need to inform my father about this. Yun Junling was actually a little satisfied with Kong Feng. This son-in-law looked gentle and did not seem too bad. If his family background was good, he could also be of help to Xiaoxiao. Yun Junling took the opportunity to ask where Kong Feng was from. When she found out that Kong Feng was actually the young master of the Kong Corporation and had grown up overseas, she was even more satisfied. Kong Feng stayed for a few days mainly to express his attitude to Yun Junling and also to get along with Yun Xiaoxiao. He did everything personally and molded himself into a perfect man. What he showed was that even though they did not have much feelings for each other, he was willing to bear the consequences. Even Yun Xiaoxiao was a little touched in the end and felt that it was not a bad idea to marry such a person. She knew about the Kong family. Although it was very far away, the Kong Corporation was also a big business. Kong Feng was definitely not after the Yun Corporation's assets. I'm not afraid of you laughing at me. I'm actually not that career-minded. I usually like to go around and take some photos. But now that I have a child, I will definitely work hard to be a good father. With Kong Feng's disguise and Kong Feng's father's support, Kong Feng and Yun Xiaoxiao's wedding was held very quickly. The reason why it was so fast was because Yun Junling was dying. On the 10th day after the wedding, Yun Junling passed away. In the beginning, Kong Feng had intended to take care of the children. Later, when Yun Xiaoxiao faced all sorts of problems with the company, Kong Feng finally stepped in and took charge of the company. Moreover, Kong Feng would report everything to her when he returned home. Gradually, Yun Xiaoxiao was able to take care of the children with peace of mind. Over time, just like when Yun Junling was still alive, her life was quite comfortable. Kong Feng worked obediently for a year. After he took complete control of the Yun family, his gambling addiction kicked in again. He used the excuse of going on a business trip to gamble. Yun Xiaoxiao had no idea about this at all. By the time she found out, the child was already 3 or 4 years old and the company was already in danger. Because of Kong Feng's plan, the current Yun clan was almost an empty shell. Kong Feng. When Yun Xiaoxiao found out that the company was about to go bankrupt, she yelled at Kong Feng, "What the hell is wrong with you? I handed the company to you and this is how you manage it. Where's the money? Where's the company's money? And those purchased products, why are the prices so high?" Kong Feng had just lost money and was in a bad mood. After being yelled at by Yun Xiaoxiao, he lost all his patience. The company doesn't belong to me alone. How would I know what's going on? You don't even go to the company. All you do is eat, drink, and buy. Now that you have no money, you're blaming me. You. How could you be like this? Yun Xiaoxiao really didn't like Kong Feng. Marriage was just a stopgap measure. She wanted to find someone to work for her. Kong Feng had always been obedient. She might as well take care of the children for a few more years. When the children were older, she would interfere with the company. Unexpectedly, by the time she was free, the company was about to go bankrupt. The accounts were in a mess and losses were everywhere. The latest website, to download the latest TXT ebook, click here, to read this book on mobile, to post a review. To make it easier for you to read this book next time, you can click on the Save button at the bottom to record this book. You will see it the next time you open the bookshelf. Please recommend this book to your friends. Thank you for your support. Chapter 4970. Yun Xiaoxiao didn't want Kong Feng to manage the company anymore, so she chased him out and left the child in the care of the nanny. When she took over the company, she even asked for a divorce from Kong Feng. She must have been blind to have married Kong Feng. We can get a divorce, but we have to settle the assets first. In your dreams. Yun Xiaoxiao was furious. Fine, you don't have to. From today onwards, get out of here. Don't live here. She was very glad that before they got married, her mother had made the decision to settle the assets. It didn't matter if Kong Feng didn't want a divorce. She would appeal. Once she settled the company's affairs, she would file for divorce. It was troublesome and would take a long time, but she could solve this problem eventually. After scolding Kong Feng, Yun Xiaoxiao went to the company with the nanny and the child. With her ability, she couldn't stabilize the company immediately. So when she was in the car, she called Jiang Ting and Hui Yongfei and asked them to come and help her. They were the only two people who could help her. Kong Feng, who was still at home, was looking for jewelry and some valuable things that could be sold. He planned to sell them to get some gambling capital. Yun Xiaoxiao didn't know about any of this. Kong Feng took the things and cleaned up the place. If Yun Xiaoxiao didn't check carefully, she wouldn't be able to find out. When Yun Xiaoxiao came back that day, she didn't know that Kong Feng had taken away many valuable things in the house. Seeing that Kong Feng wasn't around, she was glad. If Kong Feng insisted on staying, she couldn't do anything about it. Jean, play here for a while. Mommy has something to do. Yun Xiaoxiao looked at Yun Jin, who was playing with a toy car. She seemed to see Kong Feng through Yun Jin's face. She regretted it. When she found out Kong Feng's true colors, she really regretted it. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have tried to borrow someone's seed. She wouldn't have met Kong Feng. She didn't know when she got addicted to gambling and almost lost the company. Even when she saw Yun Jin, she didn't like her that much. But when she remembered that this was her child, she quickly threw that bad thought to the back of her mind. The next day, Yun Xiaoxiao was busy with work and didn't plan to bring Yun Jin along. She asked the nanny to look after Yun Jin at home. Yun Jin usually didn't cry or throw a tantrum. At most, she was a little domineering. Perhaps he had sensed what had happened in the past 2 days, so he was quite obedient. Yun Jin was bored at home. After he was tired of playing with all kinds of toys, he looked for other fun things to play with. In the end, he found an old cell phone. Yun Jin was now more than 4 years old. Yun Xiaoxiao had always had high hopes for Yun Jin, so she had given Yun Jin some education early on. Yun Jin was very talented in literacy and was Yun Xiaoxiao's pride. She originally wanted to borrow Kong Feng's hand to manage the company first. When her son grew up, she would let Yunjin learn from him in addition to her homework. In the future, the company would definitely be handed over to Yunjin. Who would have thought that Kong Feng would almost bankrupt her company, which was her mother's blood, sweat, and tears. Yun Jin could read a lot of words. As for playing with mobile phones, as long as the family wasn't too poor, children were especially good at it. When she found the old phone, Yun Jin wasn't interested in it at first, so she tapped on it casually. In the end, she accidentally clicked into a chat group. Yun-jin was fascinated by the strange conversations in the group. Chapter 4971. Yun-jin saw that these people were chatting enthusiastically and the content of the chat was very interesting. She couldn't help but join in. The nickname that appeared was Yun Xiaoxiao's. After all, this was Yun Xiaoxiao's phone. Yun Xiaoxiao, who are you? You just said that eating a pill can increase one's strength. Is it the strength pill from the cartoons? When the nickname Yun Xiaoxiao appeared, the people in the group fell silent for a moment. Yun Xiaoxiao, is there really such a thing? Ziyun and the others were silent as they carefully analyzed these two sentences. They already felt that the person behind the nickname Yun Xiaoxiao was not Yun Xiaoxiao. Instead, she sounded a little like a child. Recently, no one in the group gave out red packets that everyone could get. At most, they gave out some exclusive red packets. They were afraid that Yun Xiaoxiao would accidentally bump into them and snatch something that she shouldn't. They didn't look forward to Yun Xiaoxiao's appearance anymore. They didn't expect that the person behind this might not be Yun Xiaoxiao. Ziyun, you're not Yun Xiaoxiao, are you? Yun Xiaoxiao, my name is Yun-jin. Yun Xiaoxiao is my mother. Also, do you really have that magical pill that you were talking about? If you do, can you give me one? Margaret, what do you need those pills for? Yun Xiaoxiao, my mother has been very angry recently. It's all my father's fault. If there is such a powerful pill, I want to eat it and beat my father up. Ziyun and the others were enlightened when they heard this. If it was a child who came to ask for something, and had a pitiful experience, they couldn't just stand by and watch. Who would have thought that there was actually another reason behind this? Qi Shao, how could there be such a magical pill? We were just joking. Yun Xiaoxiao, were you really joking? If there was, that would be great. Yun-jin was extremely disappointed when she saw this. She really wanted to chase away those people who bullied her mother. He didn't have much feelings for Kong Feng. Kong Feng rarely accompanied him or played with him. Yun Xiaoxiao and Kong Feng didn't get married because of love. Yun Junling had a good plan. Kong Feng also said that he wanted to give the child a complete family. Everything else was up to her. After the marriage, Kong Feng helped to manage the company while Yun Xiaoxiao took care of the children. Kong Feng wasn't close to the children and Yun Xiaoxiao couldn't be happier. She didn't even think about letting Yun Jun and Kong Feng get along. Kong Feng was a gambler. Because of his own experience, he didn't care much about blood ties. Yun Xiaoxiao cared about the child and ignored the company. He couldn't be happier. At first, Yun Xiaoxiao heaved a sigh of relief. She felt that this wasn't a bad idea. She really didn't want to become intimate with a stranger. She had already made up her mind to give Kong Feng some benefits when her child grew up and divorced him. Besides, the other party was the young master of the Kong clan. Perhaps in the future, the Kong family would even give her child some benefits. Who knew that things would turn out like this? Yun-jin was naturally not close to Kong Feng. He only knew that it was because of Kong Feng that his mother was so angry that she stopped playing with him recently. Since she knew that the vigorous pill wasn't real, Yun-jin wasn't very interested and continued to chat in the group. He stared at the phone for a while, then threw it aside and went to play something else. At night, Tang Guo was notified by the system. There was some movement in the group. After eating, she leaned on the sofa and closed her eyes. Chapter 4972. School bell, are you saying that Yun-jin took Yun Xiaoxiao's phone and joined the group chat? Margaret, the kid said it himself. His name is Yun-jin and his mother is Yun Xiaoxiao. Looks like we've been fooled by a kid. Ziyun, in the eyes of a kid, anyone who bullies his mother is a bad guy. Qi Shao, let's not give anything this time. It shouldn't affect anything. School bell, no, the Yun Corporation is facing a crisis recently. Yun Xiao has been so busy. In my world, it's been a few years. Yun Xiao probably wouldn't remember this group. After all, people usually change their phones every 1 or 2 years. Obsolete phones are rarely used. If it was Yun Jin, things would make sense. Mo Yun Tian, then let's not talk about strange things for a while. Let's not send red packets, in case the kid comes in and sees it. Tang Guo agreed. Kids don't have a sense of right and wrong. If they really coaxed her group members to send red packets, who knows what they would do with them. If they wanted to hit their own father with a strength pill, it wouldn't be strange if they wanted to use other cursed charms to curse those who didn't get along with Yun Xiao. School bell, where's Yun Gu? Did he come out of that strange thing? Mo Yun Tian, no, he's been in love recently. A woman from that place has taken a liking to him. She thinks he looks different and is very interesting. She wants to marry him. Ha ha ha. What a joke. This kid is having a headache now. What is this? The consequences of running around. After learning the truth, Tang Guo chatted for a while and left the group. Yun Jin joined the group a few times but didn't get much out of it. He realized that these people were really bragging and gradually lost interest in the group. A kid's interest came and went quickly. He threw the old phone into a corner and went to look for another one. Yun Jin was smart and had a high IQ. But he was still a kid. There were limits to what he could do and he had a child's heart. He didn't understand the adult world at all. Without the help of the group, he couldn't do anything. When Yun Xiao arranged for people to clean up the company, she realized that there were holes everywhere. If she wanted to fill these holes, she would have to sell off some of the fixed assets under her name. Moreover, she had no choice but to fill this hole. If she didn't fill it out, she might have to go to court. Although the company was managed by Kong Feng before, it had nothing to do with Kong Feng nominally. Even if she didn't care, she would still have to pay the debt when the time came. Yun Xiao didn't want the company to go bankrupt. She was a proud person. If people found out that such a big company had gone bankrupt, she would be ridiculed. Therefore, she decided to sell all the fixed assets under her name. Other than the villa she was currently living in, she sold everything else. After the hole was filled, Yun Xiao had lost a lot of weight. She hated Kong Feng to the core. Before she could catch her breath, her mother's relatives actually came over and said that she couldn't manage such a big company by herself and asked them to help her. For a moment, Yun Xiao felt like her head was about to explode. She had to deal with these trivial matters every single day. At first, Jiang Ting and Hui Yongfei were very willing to help Yun Xiao. Later, Jiang Ting got impatient and excused himself. Chapter 4973. Hui Yongfei, on the other hand, was always willing to help Yun Xiao. However, Yun Xiao didn't see any of this. She only saw Hui Yongfei as a good friend. Hui Yongfei didn't seem to want more. After getting rid of those disgusting relatives, she planned to sue Kong Feng. No matter what, she was going to divorce this jerk. Now that the company had stabilized, there shouldn't be any problems in the short term. She had to get a divorce first. Of course, the first lawsuit was rejected. Yun Xiao already knew about it and wasn't in a hurry. She would wait for the next lawsuit. Coming out of the court, she looked at Kong Feng coldly. Kong Feng, if you know what's good for you, agree to the divorce. Don't waste each other's time. I won't hold it against you for what you did to my company in the past. It wasn't that Yun Xiao didn't hold it against him, but Kong Feng had a special way of making money and she couldn't catch him. If she wanted to catch him, she wouldn't be able to escape. Kong Feng didn't have any other skills, but he was good at making money out of others. In front of outsiders, Kong Feng put on an innocent face. Xiao Xiao, I think we should consider this carefully. After all, the child is still young. Can you really bear to see the child without a father? You're shameless. Xiao Xiao, you can't ignore the child's feelings just because you hate me. I admit that I don't have the ability to help you develop the company, but you can't divorce me because of this, right? Kong Feng, you're disgusting, shameless, shameless. Yun Xiaoxiao was furious. Don't you know the reason why I'm divorcing you? Do you need me to spell it out? Xiao, it's not that I have to be with you. We've been married for so many years and you've never let me touch you. I know that you still don't like me. You just want to find a father for the child. And the company needs someone to take care of it. I've done all that, but my ability is limited. I almost bankrupted the company. I don't think it's a big deal that you want a divorce. But what about the child? Don't you think about the child? Yun Xiaoxiao saw the strange looks from the people around her. They wanted to eat Kong Feng up. In front of outsiders, Kong Feng was still gentle and polite. Many people felt that Yun Xiaoxiao was being a little unreasonable. I'm not going to talk to you. Next time. Yun Xiaoxiao left in a hurry. If she had known that Kong Feng was so shameless, she would never have married him. She didn't know that this guy was so disgusting. Why did Kong Feng go to the wrong room? Why did he go to Tang Yi's room? If it was Tang Yi, things would not have turned out this way. Looking at how well Tang Yi managed Tang Kor, it was obvious that the difference between the two of them was huge. And now, Tang Yi was no longer a playboy. She was focused on her work. This was the person she had chosen in the beginning. She was so unlucky. Back home, Yun Xiaoxiao looked at Yun Jin, who was playing on the side. She thought of Kong Feng and asked in a serious tone, "Why are you still playing?" "Mom. You only know how to play and not study. Are you going to learn from your useless father?" Yun Xiaoxiao couldn't hold it in anymore. It was all Kong Feng's fault. Would she do this if she was in his shoes? However, such days would only end after half a year. Seeing the helpless look on Yun Jin's face, Yun Xiaoxiao quickly ran upstairs. She planned to throw out all of Kong Feng's things. After emptying the room, she also planned to tidy up her own room. That was when she realized that the bags and jewelry in the walk-in closet were all gone. Chapter 4974. When she opened all the boxes, there were only a few items left in her collection. Kong Feng. Ah! What sin had she committed to meet a jerk like Kong Feng? Yun Corporation is probably done for, Tang Jun said. That day, it was a family Tang gathering. Tang Gua, Tang Yi, and Tang Jun were all there. No matter how busy they were, if they weren't far away, they would still find time to gather. Tang Yi said, "I didn't expect the once glorious Yun Corporation to fall to such a state. Yun Junling's reputation has been ruined by Kong Feng, her son-in-law. Yun Xiaoxiao won't be able to hold on for much longer. I heard that she's going to file a divorce lawsuit with Kong Feng. I wonder what the Kong family stance is. If the Kong family wants to fight for that child, Yun Xiaoxiao might not win." Tang Jun said, "Given the current state of the Yun clan, the Kong clan can easily put the Yun clan in a precarious position with just a little trick. Sister, what do you think? How long do you think the Yun Corporation can hold on? You don't seem to care about the Yun Corporation at all. After all, it's one of the top companies in our place. It's still a little unbelievable to see it decline with my own eyes." Tang Gua said, "I don't have any opinion. They'll definitely go bankrupt. But little uncle and little uncle need to make more preparations. The Yun Corporation can't collapse all at once. Let's wait for the right time to take over. Sister, Yun Xiaoxiao's child is already 4 years old. Are you still not planning to return to the company? Tang Yi said aggrievedly, have you really forgotten about me, your biological brother, now that you have brother-in-law? Isn't it good to stay at home? Why do you have to run around with brother-in-law and take photos? Every time you come back, you're a few shades darker. You don't look good at all. As Tang Yi spoke, Tang Guo glanced at him indifferently and he quickly shut up. Back then, Song Shi and Tang Guo said goodbye and went to a small country that was at war. He wanted to end his dream and take a complete picture of the battlefield. Then, he wanted to bring these photos back to show the public how terrifying war was and how precious peace was now. Thus, he stayed in that place for 3 years, personally watching that small country regress by countless years. Later on, he also encountered some accidents. He didn't know if it was the effect of Tang Guo's amulet, but he actually came back safely. Of course, the reason why he was able to come back was because Tang Guo brought him back. At that time, he was caught. Because he was Chinese, he was not killed. After he returned, he developed all the photos and really held an exhibition. It was an unforgettable and tearful exhibition that was presented to the world. Song Shi believed that he had fulfilled his dream. Next, he would hand over the rest of his life to the person who had moved his heart at first sight. He did not expect that Tang Guo would accompany him to fulfill his dream. At first, he refused. Although he didn't have to go to the battlefield every time, other places were very dangerous. He didn't want her to suffer. She was clearly such a noble person, so how could she run around everywhere? Of course, he was the one who compromised in the end. In the past year, Tang Guo and Song Shi had been to many places. They didn't go to the battlefield. They basically went to some deserted places to take photos that ordinary people couldn't see. Tang Jun and Tang Yi knew about Tang Guo and Song Shi's experience. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. These two people, one dared to ask you to marry him, and the other really dared to agree. Needless to say, they were really compatible. Xiao Guo, why don't you two get married first? Tang Jun said. Little uncle can't persuade you. Tang Guo, okay. However, little uncle, you should also consider marriage. Tang Jun said a little shyly, there's no rush. This kind of thing depends on fate. It can't be forced. Little uncle, since you don't plan to find a partner, why don't you help me manage the company temporarily and let me find a partner first? Tang Jun, Xiao Yi, you're already so old. You have to learn to balance work and relationships. Don't ask your parents for help so easily. Tang Yi, get lost. Sis, didn't you say that brother-in-law's sister is coming back? When is it? When the time comes, both our families will be here. We can meet and discuss your marriage. Chapter 49-75. Before Song Lu returned to the country, she already knew that her brother had a girlfriend. Originally, she was about to give up on his dream of taking pictures everywhere. Who would have thought that her future sister-in-law would be willing to accompany her brother to continue his dream? So, she had always wanted to meet her future sister-in-law. Because of her studies, she had not returned for many years. Now that she had completed her studies, she was ready to return to build her own country. She did not plan to stay outside. When she saw Song Shi, she could not help but be curious. So, she asked Song Shi who her future sister-in-law was. Have you heard of Tangkor? Tangkor. Song Lu snapped back to reality. The Tangkor with 2 siblings. That's right. Your brother's future wife is the former boss Tang. However, she has now handed the company over to her younger brother and has already resigned from her position as CEO. Song Lu could hear the pride in Song Shi's voice. She could not help but laugh. Seeing that brother and sister-in-law have such a good relationship, I am relieved. Before, we were all very worried about you. We were afraid that something would happen to you and you would not be able to find a wife. I remember when you first got together with sister-in-law, Dad and Mom called to tell me the good news. They said that you were finally going to settle down and not go out to take risks. They really did not expect that they would have to worry about not one person, but two people. Song Lu could not help but tease. Although she was also worried about Song Shi, she believed that everyone had their own dreams. There was nothing wrong with thinking about the consequences and then pursuing one's dreams. Her brother's photo exhibition was very popular in other countries besides the country. Your sister-in-law is my lucky star. Ever since I met her, I have rarely encountered any accidents, Song Shi said proudly. Song Shi said proudly, today, I'll take you over for dinner first. Our two families will officially meet another day to discuss the marriage. Brother, congratulations. Song Lu sincerely wished him well. Then I will go with you first. After dinner, I will go and see my friend. I have been chatting with her for the past few days. I don't feel close to her anymore. I heard that she is also married. I wonder how she is doing. Okay, I will take you there later. Oh right, brother, I heard that sister-in-law picked you up. Why don't you tell me about it? Song Shi did not feel that this was a disgrace. Instead, he felt that this was an indispensable part of his life. He told him in detail about his encounter with Tang Guo. Song Lu listened from the side and was very envious. Soon, they arrived at family Tang. Mrs. Tang saw Tang Guo. Actually, they had met before, but they were not familiar with each other. Song Lu was very enthusiastic about Tang Guo. She felt like someone finally wanted to be her brother. Because of what had happened in Yun Xiaoxiao's group, Tang Guo liked Song Lu very much. They could chat as soon as they met. Sister Song, eat some fruit. Tang Guo's eyes lit up when he saw Song Lu. He couldn't help but put all kinds of things in front of her. Tang Guo's eyes twitched. This brat, he couldn't help but get close to beautiful women. Song Lu said politely, thank you. She also knew Tang Yi. He was a playboy. Just as the rumors said, he was not serious at all. Little sister Song, you seem to have some misunderstanding about me. Tang Yi could feel Song Lu's repulsion. Song Lu quickly shook her head. No, you misunderstood. No, I can feel it, Tang Yi said. You think I'm a playboy? Song Lu, isn't it? Isn't this something that everyone knows? Who doesn't know that you've had more than 20 girlfriends? Chapter 4976. Xiao Yi, be serious. Tang Jun couldn't help but say, you're always so mischievous. No wonder you can't get good girls to like you. Tang Yi scratched his head and said, I don't mean anything else. Aren't we going to be a family soon? Can't I be a little more passionate? Tang Jun looked doubtful. Don't mean anything else. If he didn't mean anything else, why did he approach her? Actually, Xiao Yi has been quite well behaved these past few years. Tang Jun thought that Tang Yi was still a family member and had been doing well in recent years. He had been busy with the company and didn't have many girlfriends. Therefore, he decided to help Tang Yi restore his image. You've grown up and become more sensible. You're not like before when you only knew how to be naughty. Your personality has changed a lot. I heard that you'll be working in the country from now on. You'll be able to see the change in Tang Yi. Tang Yi nodded with a smile. Yes, he was different now. He was ordered around by his own sister like a cow and he had no choice but to do it willingly. After all, he was Tang Yi. Speaking of which, he had been idle for a long time. However, he really didn't feel like dating Song Lu. He also felt that Song Lu didn't have that kind of feeling for him. Therefore, his uncle's efforts were in vain. He approached Song Lu enthusiastically because he wanted to treat her politely. After all, she was his brother-in-law's sister. It was the young lady's first time here. Of course, he had to give her a good impression. Besides, his sister and brother-in-law were often out on adventures. Song Lu definitely had to be taken care of in the Song family. Really, it had been hard on this young lady. I heard that Uncle Tang's company recently developed a new product. I happen to be a scholar. Song Lu said a little embarrassedly. I wonder if I can go and take a look. Previously, I bought a product from your company. To put it bluntly, I feel that this product can be even more perfect. Tang Jun looked at Song Lu, then at Tang Gua and Song Shi. They didn't expect Song Lu to be so direct. However, no one dared to underestimate her. You're saying that it can be more perfect? Yes. When I used it before, I did feel that some parts can be improved. If Uncle Tang doesn't mind, of course I don't mind. When can you go and take a look? Now. Tang Jun also felt that the product was still lacking something. However, their researchers hadn't been able to make any breakthroughs. They could only release the first-generation product. When he had a clue in the future, he would release the second generation. Little uncle, you can take little sis Song there after dinner. It's not a formal meeting today, so it's not a big deal. Tanggua said that Song Lu was a good girl. She was highly educated and knew a lot of things. She could even help her uncle's company. She was such an excellent talent, so it was good to poach her. Even if she didn't dig, others would. Now that there was someone in her uncle's company who was attractive to her, the chances of her poaching were much higher. After dinner, Song Lu was about to go to his company with Tang Jun when she suddenly remembered that she hadn't visited Yun Xiaoxiao yet. Uncle Tang, I'm sorry. I forgot that there's still a personal matter that I haven't dealt with yet. Song Lu said apologetically. Tang Jun, what are you going to do? Why don't you go and deal with your personal matters first? How long will it take? I'm going to meet a friend of mine. It'll only be a few hours at most. I can go to your company later. Actually, I can't wait to see the information about that product. In that case, I'll send you there. Tang Jun looked at the time. It's no trouble at all. Chapter 4977. Tang Jun drove the car to the Yun family villa and suddenly fell silent. May I ask who your friend is? Song Lu sensed something. Yun Xiaoxiao. We haven't been in contact much these past few years. When I called her, she never picked up. When I sent her messages, she would occasionally reply. I think we've drifted apart. Now that I'm back, I want to see how she's doing. I'll leave after that. I see. Uncle Tang, you seem to be familiar with Xiaoxiao. She had some unhappiness with our family before, but it's been resolved. She has nothing to do with the family now, Tang Jun said. Yun Xiaoxiao's previous behavior had made Tang Jun hate her. Fortunately, Xiaoyi wasn't sleeping in the room that day. After that incident, he heard that Xiaoyi almost gave up the room to him. In the end, he managed to escape because the door couldn't be opened. All of this seemed to be a coincidence. It was as if someone was helping the family. If someone like Yun Xiaoxiao clung onto them, his family might not be able to live a peaceful life. Later, he thought about it deeply. That incident was definitely not a coincidence. It wasn't that the family was fated to escape a calamity. Someone had done it on purpose. He had already guessed who this person was. It could only be his good niece, Tanggua. He suspected this for the following reasons. First, after he was sent back to his room that day, Tang Yi also inexplicably fell asleep on the sofa. Second, when the mother and daughter of the Yun family came looking for him, the calmest person was Tang Guo. Third, when Xiaoyi asked her if she believed him without any doubt. With Xiaoyi's reputation, even he couldn't guarantee that the incident had nothing to do with Xiaoyi. Fourth, why did she directly propose a paternity test? What kind of confidence did she have? Only she knew beforehand that Yun Xiaoxiao's child wasn't Xiaoyi's, right? Of course, there were still some details that he didn't understand. He didn't plan to tell anyone about this. It was best to keep it to himself. He was sure that most of the details had something to do with Yun Xiaoxiao. She was a woman full of lies. Uncle Tang. Tang Jun came back to his senses. Sorry, I suddenly thought of something and got distracted. I'll wait for you here. Sorry to trouble you. If you have something to do, you can leave first. It's okay, it's okay. Song Lu arrived at the right time. Yun Xiaoxiao was at home. Yun Xiaoxiao wasn't happy to see Song Lu, so she greeted her politely. Song Lu could feel Yun Xiaoxiao's rejection and she felt a little sad. I heard that you got married, but I didn't have the chance to attend your wedding. However, I still bought you a gift. Song Lu said. She really didn't know much about domestic affairs. Yun Xiaoxiao's face twisted when she heard this. Don't. I'm about to get a divorce. Divorce? Song Lu was a little surprised. Weren't you very satisfied before? How could they get divorced? I don't want to talk about that person anymore. Do you have anything else? If not, I don't think it's convenient for me to entertain you. Yun Xiaoxiao didn't want to talk to Song Lu at all. Now, the Yun family was getting worse and worse. Although she was in charge of the Yun family, it was no longer the same as before. It was very likely that the Yun family would cease to exist one day. Moreover, Song Lu was the daughter of the Song family. She always felt uncomfortable in front of Song Lu. Song Lu was a person who would often raise different opinions. She didn't like to interact with Song Lu. She always felt that Song Lu was very annoying and thought that she knew a lot. Chapter 4978. Since Yun Xiaoxiao had said so, Song Lu had no choice but to leave. If nothing unexpected happened, her friendship with Yun Xiaoxiao would come to an end. She had expected this day to come, so she had no regrets. Yun Xiaoxiao was distancing herself from her, so their friendship could no longer be maintained. She came this time to see how Yun Xiaoxiao was doing. So soon. Tang Jun was surprised to see Song Lu come out in less than 20 minutes. Song Lu nodded. I'm not close with her, so I'm just here to see how she's doing. We won't be seeing each other in the future. Things aren't looking good for Yun Corporation, Tang Jun said. Song Lu said, Uncle Tang, please tell me more about it. Tang Jun told her about what happened between Yun Xiaoxiao and Kong Feng. Song Lu sighed. The more she listened, the more she felt that something was wrong. You're saying that Yun Xiaoxiao and Kong Feng met by chance? Tang Jun nodded. Yes. Perhaps it was because of Song Shi. Tang Jun told him about how Yun Xiaoxiao had caused trouble for Tang Yi. At first, Yun Xiaoxiao mistook that person for Little Yi. At that time, many people thought that it was Little Yi who had caused the trouble. Fortunately, Xiaoguo proposed to do a paternity test after the child was born, so she was cleared. Song Lu's expression changed. Even though she had received so much information at once, she instantly understood. Why was Yun Xiaoxiao so sure that it was Tang Yi's child? Did she never give up and want to borrow his child? Uncle Tang, I want to know something. Can I ask you? Tang Jun, sure. As Song Lu asked, she took out her phone and searched for Kong Feng's photo. After all, Yun Xiaoxiao and Kong Feng were people of status, so she could find their wedding photos. When she saw that Kong Feng wasn't the one Yun Xiaoxiao had introduced to her, she understood everything. Yun Xiaoxiao didn't give up on borrowing his child, but there was an accident in the end. If she guessed correctly, this was the truth. What was this? Was she the one who brought this upon herself? Although Tang Jun was very gentle when he said that Yun Xiaoxiao came to the family Tang to accuse Tang Yi, she had already found the historical information on the internet. She wasn't a bookworm. She finished her studies because she wanted to learn more about her field of interest. Looking at the reports, she knew what Bai Xiaoxiao and her daughter were planning. Later, when she chose to marry Kong Feng, she probably had the same intention. However, she did not expect that Kong Feng would cause the Yun family to almost go bankrupt. Actually, you and Yun Xiaoxiao aren't suitable to be friends, Tang Jun added. Song Lu put away her phone. I know. Because we were neighbors when we were young, I rarely made friends. She was the one who liked to drag me out to play. Alright, Uncle Tang, let's go take a look at your company's product. Are you interested in joining my company? Tang Jun asked. Song Lu, I haven't done anything yet, and I'm being invited like this. How do you know that I'm up to the task? I believe that my judgment is not wrong. If Uncle Tang doesn't mind that I'm a newcomer, of course I'm willing. Tang Gua and Song Shi both knew that Song Lu had been abducted to the company by Tang Jun. After the two families had a formal meal and set a date for the wedding, Song Lu started to get busy in the company. A month later, Tang Gua and Song Shi got married. After the wedding, it was time for their honeymoon. Chapter 49-79. Other people traveled to places with beautiful scenery, but they chose places that few people had ever set foot in. Tang Yi began to work hard again. He really wanted to scold his uncle for secretly abducting a fair and clean girl to work in the company as a coolie. Sitting in the empty office, Tang Yi felt what it meant to be empty, lonely, and cold. Half a year later, despite Yun Xiaoxiao's efforts, the Yun Corporation could not continue to grow and had to go bankrupt. After the company declared bankruptcy, Yun Xiaoxiao was not left with nothing. It was just that what she had was pathetically little compared to before. With her own ability, it would be difficult for her to make a comeback. What was even more frightening was that her mother's poor relatives often came to pester her and disturb her normal life. They were all shameless people and she could not stop them. Left with no choice, Yun Xiaoxiao decided to sell the villa and bought a house somewhere else to live in. At this time, she was facing a divorce lawsuit with Kong Feng. Kong Feng came to Yun Xiaoxiao and said that he wanted to fight for the child. With Yun Xiaoxiao's current situation, it was obvious that the Kong family had a better chance of winning. Yun Xiaoxiao said, Kong Feng, don't go too far. Give me half of your money and I won't fight for the child. You don't have to sue, we can just go and get a divorce certificate. Kong Feng, you're shameless. There are still a few days before the court. Think about it. But you have to tell me before the court. Otherwise, I will ask my dad for help. Yun Xiaoxiao had nothing. Although she occasionally saw Kong Feng's disgusting face through Yunjin, she was the one who carried the child for 10 months and raised it single-handedly. She could not give the child to a despicable person like Kong Feng. After thinking about it for 2 days, she could only choose to compromise. She gave half of her money to Kong Feng and the divorce was considered complete. Yun Xiaoxiao regretted it, but there was no medicine for regret in this world. What are you going to do now? Hui Yongfei asked with concern. We can't just sit around and eat. There will be many places where we need money in the future. I want to open a small shop and barely make a living. Yongfei, I was wrong. If I hadn't done what I did, none of this would have happened. Hui Yongfei said, Xiao Xiao, don't worry. I will help you. Thank you, Yongfei. You are the only one by my side. Everyone else has left. Even Jiang Ting has distanced himself from me. Xiao Xiao, Jiang Ting has her own life. I won't leave you. Hui Yongfei saw that Yun Xiaoxiao was stunned and quickly said, after all, we are best friends. We should go through thick and thin together, right? After getting the money, Kong Feng didn't stay put. He lost all his money and came looking for Yun Xiaoxiao again. Kong Feng, do you have any shame? Yun Xiaoxiao was filled with regret. Every time she saw Kong Feng, she regretted it. She cursed Kong Feng countless times in her heart to kill him. Kong Feng, I'm here today to tell you something. Yun Xiaoxiao, your original target wasn't me, but Tang Yi, right? What did you say? I say, the person you wanted to sleep with was Tang Yi. Otherwise, why would you blame him for your pregnancy? You said that I'm shameless. What about you? Do you have any shame? Do you think you can still survive in this circle if this matter gets out? Yun Xiaoxiao was so angry that her head was buzzing. How did Kong Feng know about this? I'm guessing that the Yun family has already seen through your plan. As for who saw through it, I don't know. But what I want to tell you is that I walked into that room of my own accord and I was conscious the whole time. Kong Feng said with a smile. He was sure that Yun Xiaoxiao didn't want to tell anyone about this. She would be the only one who would be embarrassed. This was social death. After all, she used to be the eldest daughter of the Yun family. Now that she had fallen from grace, he believed that the entertainment reporters would be interested in her current situation. The Yun family now wasn't the Yun family of the past. The entertainment reporters weren't afraid of her. What do you want? Money. Yun Xiaoxiao gritted her teeth. Okay, I'll give it to you. But you can't tell anyone about this. That depends on your performance. If you shut my mouth, I won't tell anyone. Yun Xiaoxiao's eyes flashed with ruthlessness. She understood that Kong Feng wanted to suck her blood for the rest of his life. Chapter 4980. Kong Feng, who had received the money, was happy for the time being. He took the money and went to the casino. In his opinion, Yun Xiaoxiao was a person who cared a lot about her reputation. As long as he used this excuse, she would definitely provide him with a steady stream of money. He was not afraid that Yun Xiaoxiao's money would be spent in a short time. After all, she was Yun Junling's daughter. She must have some savings. As for what he said, the Tang family already knew that this was a trap. Kong Feng was very tactful and did not dare to cause trouble for the Tang family. Since they were able to see through Yun Xiaoxiao's plan and make her suffer without anyone noticing, Kong Feng knew that he couldn't afford to offend a family like that. Tang Gui did not pay attention to Yun Xiaoxiao's current situation. She had speculated that as long as Kong Feng was around, Yun Xiaoxiao would not be able to live a peaceful life. As for Yun Xiaoxiao's second-hand mobile phone, it had been thrown into the trash when she moved. The mobile phone was probably doomed because there was an offline status displayed behind Yun Xiaoxiao's username. Moreover, she was currently on a honeymoon trip with Song Shi. However, they were not in a scenic spot, but in a primeval forest. There were snakes, insects, rats, ants, and all kinds of wild animals that could eat people, as well as some food that would be poisoned when touched. With Tang Gui's help, Song Shi took a lot of precious photos back. The two of them were a little tired from running. They found a slightly safer place with sunlight and put a thin cushion on the spot. After walking for so long, they were a little tired. The two of them sat on the cushion and leaned against each other. Song Shi sorted out the photos in the camera. The more he looked at them, the more amazed he became. I must have been a good person in my previous life. Why do you suddenly say that? If you weren't a good person, how could you have married a wife like Xiaoguo? I thought I would be lonely and die chasing my dreams. Ever since I met you, I realized that no matter what I encounter, I can turn misfortune into blessing. Xiaoguo, you must be a fairy from Tianshan, right? Xiaoguo, do you really like this kind of life? Songshi put down the camera. This is my dream, not yours. If there is anything else you like, you must tell me. I can accompany you to achieve it. This kind of life is pretty good. Tang Guo was not lying. It was indeed her first time coming to such a dangerous place. She was risking her life to film something fun and mysterious that she had never seen before. Then you should have a dream, right? Songshi said, or has your dream come true? However, there was more than one dream and goal in life. There would always be new ones. I'm already very satisfied that I've come this far. I still hope that I can accompany you to accomplish what you want to do. Dream? Tangguin narrowed her eyes and thought carefully. Suddenly, she realized that she really didn't have any dreams. What was his dream? A dream should be a wish that was difficult to realize. That was why it was called a dream. Usually, the things she wanted to do were called goals. As for dreams, she really didn't have any. I don't think I have any dreams. This put Songshi in a difficult position. He hugged Tanghua and asked, what about the target? There's nothing else. They've all come true. Songshi, we still have a few decades to live. Have you thought about how you're going to live the rest of your life? Songshi continued to ask, that is, what kind of life do you want in your heart? Peak. Chapter 4981. Tangua's eyes fell on Songshi's face. Didn't you take me to see a different scenery? Songshi didn't know what to say. How could there be people without dreams in this world? Do you feel that this kind of life has become boring? Tanghua asked. Otherwise, why would Songshi ask this inexplicably, so as to give up the current life and turn to another kind of life? No, because you have always been accompanying me to do what I like. I also want to accompany you to do what you like. Songshi said quickly, I can't let you accompany me all the time. You should do something that you like. I think it's good now. I don't have anything else I like for the time being. Songshi held her hand. Well, if there's something you like, you must tell me. We'll do it together. Okay. Tanghua began to think. Was there anything she wanted to do? Was there anything she liked to do? It seemed that there wasn't. She had done what she needed to do. Now she just wanted to enjoy life and live this short life. However, she was still thinking. If she had a dream, what should her dream be? She seemed to be used to being casual. She basically walked forward without fear. No matter what she encountered, she had never been afraid. Maybe it was because of the long travel that she had a fearless heart. Dreams. Because she was too realistic. As long as there was a slight possibility of accomplishing something, she would set a goal, not a dream. She didn't even care where she came from, what her real name was, and why she was traveling in this endless world. What did she care about? Thinking about it carefully, she only cared about the people she met on the journey, the stories that happened with those people, the interactions with them, and the feelings they had for each other. Her friends in the group were undoubtedly the most stable place for her friendship. And the person beside her who had always followed her. No matter which world she went to, he would always appear. Unknowingly, she had become used to their existence. If one day, they really disappeared. She should be sad if they disappeared in her life. Ah, sure, is there anything else in your dream besides taking these precious photos? Songshi answered matter-of-factly, of course. What is it? Songshur held Tangua's hand and said solemnly and cautiously, I'll love you forever. Is this considered a dream? Of course it counts. Because many inconceivable accidents will happen in life, and people think that they can't be stopped. So, this is a dream. Ever since I met you and got together with you, I've been praying every day to be with you until the end of my life. Ah, sure, your dream will come true. Tangua still did not have any dreams, because everything she wanted to do was a goal. She had worked hard for many days, but she still couldn't figure out what her dream was. Therefore, when she returned to the city with Songshur, she opened a dream fund account. The content of this fund account was that anyone with dreams could make a wish under the account. The more detailed the dream, the greater the possibility of it being realized. Some people decided to give it a try and treat it as a wishing tree. As a result, Tangua could see all kinds of dreams every day. She realized that some of the dreams were very simple. It might just be about what kind of gift she wanted on her birthday. Chapter 4982. Tangua picked a few people and arranged for them to fulfill their dreams. After these people fulfilled their small dreams and came to give feedback, more and more people came here to make wishes, big ones and small ones. What, have you thought it through? Songshur knew what Tangua was doing. Actually, it doesn't matter if you don't. This means that you are very powerful, so you don't need a so-called dream. Because what you want to do, you can succeed very quickly. And dreams are only for those who can't realize it for the time being. I understood it long ago. Tangua's lips curved into a smile. It doesn't matter whether you have a dream or not. What matters is how you live your life. Now, it's very good. It's good that you understand. It's all my fault for making you struggle for so long. Songshur said in annoyance. Tangua shook her head. She didn't care about this. I think because of your reminder, I will love life more in the future. I will live well and find the things I like to do. Even if time is very long and some things can't be seen at a glance. Even if there is a day when everything around me becomes unfamiliar and there are no familiar people, I won't be lost anymore. Songshur was right. Having no dreams wasn't something to be afraid of. This meant that she had become very powerful. She thought about it carefully. When she was very weak, she also had dreams. For example, in those worlds at the beginning, she dreamed of when she would know her true self, when she would be able to go out, when there would be someone from this world full of filth, who would pull away the layer of mud and discover that the real her wasn't what she looked like on the surface. She really didn't miss the days when she had dreams. Because, it was too despairing. Now, she wasn't in a hurry to know her identity, nor was she in a hurry to go out. Wherever she went, she wasn't afraid of doing anything. She didn't even feel that this world was full of filth. It was full of filth because there was no one to protect the little bit of beauty in this world. So, she was strong. She had the ability to protect the thing she wanted to protect and pursue the life she wanted. Fearless, fearless. What was so scary about having no dreams? Her goal in every world was to change the trajectory of fate, to let the people the original owner cared about live well, to let her live well, to know that the people in the group were still safe, and to be able to meet the person beside her who had always been by her side. Songshur didn't understand Tangua's words, but he could feel that Tangua really didn't care about this matter. Their days after that, every day was happy. After resting for a month, Tangua and Songshur were about to set out again. This time, they were going to a small country that had just been at war. Although the country had always been peaceful, in some small countries around the world, there were often wars, and the people there were living in water and fire. When approaching this small country, Tangua discovered that the dream of these desperate people is to live and stop the war. In 2 years, she and Song Shi had personally witnessed the war from the beginning to the end. They had seen those people's eyes change from the light of hope to the darkness of despair, and finally, they had died with their eyes wide open. They were still tightly clutching a family photo in their hands. After the end of the war, the people's dreams were different. They hoped to be able to eat their fill, wear warm clothes, and not have any more wars. When they realized this, their dreams became rich again. Everything here was over. Tang Guo and Song Shi also returned. What caught them off guard was Tang Jun and Song Lu's marriage. So, little uncle, you secretly abducted Osher's little sister just like that? It's fine if you let her work for you, but you won't even let her go? Tang Guo asked. Chapter 4983. Tang Jun looked apologetic. I can't control my feelings, Xiao Guo. Besides, I'm already so old. It's not easy to meet someone I hope for. I hope you can understand. Tang Guo was amused by Tang Jun's serious expression. All right, uncle. Since you two like each other, there's nothing wrong. We'll just address each other as our own. Some people say they don't want to find a partner, but in the end, not only do they secretly find a partner, they even keep their partner by their side. Ha! Tang Yi said sarcastically. I don't understand. Tang Jun said, Xiao Yi, don't be sarcastic. Uncle, I don't even have a partner yet. Tang Jun said, then work harder. Look, uncle already has one. If you're sincere, you'll definitely have one. Tang Yi. Uncle was his biological uncle. Tang Guo and Song Shi didn't plan to go out for the time being. The two of them witnessed Tang Jun and Song Lu's wedding. Tang Guo found that the two of them were really compatible. Song Lu was a very knowledgeable person and liked to express her thoughts in all aspects. Tang Jun was a good listener, so the two of them could easily talk about a bunch of things. Tang Jun didn't like to talk much, but when he was with Song Lu, he was more talkative. Whatever ideas Song Lu had, Tang Jun would seriously consider them and then take her to implement them. The Song family was very satisfied with Tang Jun. As for how they addressed each other, as long as the young people didn't feel awkward, it would be awkward for them to address each other as their own. Tang Yi was still single. It wasn't that there weren't any rich girls who liked him, but he was starting to get serious about relationships. He didn't want to play around anymore. He was very envious of Tang Guo and Song Shi, and also envious of Tang Jun and Song Lu. So, he wanted to find someone he could spend the rest of his life with and not just play around with. He had been single for so many years, so it didn't matter if he continued to be single. Tang Guo heard about Yun Xiaoxiao again. It was on the trending news. It was about the former rich girl who was now a murderer. Tang Guo hadn't paid attention to this for a long time, so the system naturally didn't look at it either. After seeing this news about Yun Xiaoxiao, Tang Guo asked the system to look it up. So Yun Xiaoxiao finally decided to kill Kong Feng after being blackmailed again and again. System: yes, Madam Host. Hui Yongfei is an accomplice. At first, he wanted to take the blame for Yun Xiaoxiao. However, in the end, the evidence showed that Hui Yongfei was an accomplice. He didn't participate in the murder and only helped Yun Xiaoxiao move Kong Feng's body away to dispose of it. Where is Yun Xiaoxiao's child? He was taken back by the Kong clan, but it seems that he wasn't treated well. Just like how they treated Kong Feng, he was raised outside. Looks like I'll be spoiled again. Yunjin was indeed a child, but Tang Guo had no sympathy for her at all. Because it was this child who deceived the people in the group in the original plot, causing the family Tang to suffer, and even Song Shi and his sister. Wasn't it all Yun Xiaoxiao's own fault? What Tang Guo didn't expect was that Yun Xiaoxiao wanted to see her. Out of curiosity, Tang Guo went to see Yun Xiaoxiao. The first thing Yun Xiaoxiao asked was if Tang Guo had something to do with her failure back then. Because Kong Feng had mentioned this to her before, after careful analysis, she realized that the person who could have done this was most likely Tang Guo. I don't know what you're talking about. It's you, isn't it? Tang Guo had a strange expression on her face. Miss Yun, I heard that you wanted to see me. I thought it was something important. What is it? Just tell me. Chapter 4984. Yun Xiaoxiao had called Tang Guo over because she wanted her to admit to the matter. She had already thought it through. Even if she went to jail, she wouldn't let Tang Guo have an easy time. She didn't expect that Tang Guo wouldn't admit to it at all. She even had a strange look on her face. Yun Xiaoxiao had no choice but to watch as Tang Guo left. Tang Guo wasn't a fool. Although it wouldn't do much to pursue the matter, it would still affect Tang Guo's image if word got out. She immediately understood Yun Xiaoxiao's motive. In the end, Yun Xiaoxiao was sentenced. Although the Kong family had always wanted her to be sentenced to life imprisonment, the death penalty was already too easy for her. However, the evidence proved that Kong Feng had threatened Yun Xiaoxiao endlessly. In the end, he was sentenced to a few decades in prison, but he still had a chance to be released. In reality, the only person in the Kong family who hated Yun Xiaoxiao was Kong Feng's father. The others couldn't wait for Kong Feng to die. As for Hui Yongfei, he was also sentenced to a few years in prison. Because of this, his family hated Yun Xiaoxiao to the core. When they visited Hui Yongfei, they all sighed. When Hui Yongfei saw his parents' hair getting whiter and whiter each time, he began to regret this matter. For the first time, he told his parents that he had to be a good person after he was released. Tang Guo and Song Lu embarked on the same path as Song Shi to pursue his dream. They went to see different sites and held photo exhibitions with Song Shi. Tang Jun and Song Lu joined forces and were called a celestial couple. Tang Yi was once a playboy, but he ended up as a single dog. For the next few years, he didn't meet anyone he liked. Many people mentioned Tang Yi and said that this was retribution. Tang Yi was furious. When Tang Yi was 35 years old, he finally welcomed his love. He bid farewell to his single life and could finally stand tall in the family. When the child was born, he stayed by his wife's side. He held the child and held his wife's little hand. I never thought that I, Tang Yi, would be able to warm the bed for my wife and child. Child, I knew you were a genius. You have to grow up quickly. When you do, I will hand the company over to you. The people around him heard this and thought that Tang Yi had high hopes for this child. 15 years later, Tang Yi was playing games on the sofa in his office. In front of him, a 15-year-old child was sadly looking at some documents. He looked at him from time to time with an innocent look on his face. Dad, I'm only 15. My son, you're a good boy. Today's school assignment, I can't possibly not do it, right? Tang Guo has been to many places in her life and has seen some sceneries that she had never seen before. But the rare photos that the two of them brought back left a heavy mark. Many years later, these photos were still seen by countless people. It was shocking. The war album that they took was once bought by the countries that were at war. They hoped that it would serve as a warning to future generations. They hoped that they would work hard to become stronger so that they could protect their homeland. Xiaoguo, I heard that making wishes here is very effective. You can realize your dreams. So I'm here to make a wish. I hope that we can meet again in our next life. Song Shi left his wish on Tang Guo's dream realization website. Tang Guo took out her phone and replied to him, your dream will definitely come true. Chapter 4985. Margaret, Although Yun Xiaoxiao isn't on the same path as us, it's not easy to get a newcomer. Now that she's gone, I don't know if there will be any newcomers in the group. After all, the school belle might not come to my world in her next world. I think it's easier to get a newcomer from the group than for the school belle to come to my world. Ziyun, you're right. Qi Xiao, I don't know if the girl has arrived in her next world. Margaret, it doesn't matter if she has arrived or not. Margaret's heart has been broken by the god of creation. She doesn't have any hope. At this time, Tanghua had arrived in a new world. When she opened her eyes, she saw a beautiful woman sitting by the flowers, basking in the sun. Her beautiful face was simply indescribable with the words of the mortal world. That was because she was simply too beautiful. One look at her and one would be mesmerized by her beauty. Although the woman's face was beautiful, her brows were full of melancholy. It was as if there was an unsolvable sadness in them. It made people want to smooth out her furrowed brows. She was still very thin and weak. When the wind blew, Tanghua could see the woman's clothes fluttering in the wind. She could see her thin and weak body, as well as her pale face. She could tell that the woman's health was not very good. Gua why are you looking at your mother like that? The woman noticed Tanghua's gaze. Her beautiful eyes fell on her as she asked in a gentle tone. Tanghua had seen beautiful women before, but this was the first time she had seen such a beautiful woman. She could see everything clearly. Her every move was pitiful and heartbreaking. I was just momentarily mesmerized by mother's beauty, Tanghua replied. She could already feel that this body of hers was a little girl, about 5 years old. She didn't know what had happened in this world. Her intuition told her that it had something to do with this beautiful mother in front of her. Gua mother's beauty is not only useless, it will also bring disaster. Gua you must not be mesmerized by it. The woman had already walked in front of Tanghua. She lovingly touched Tanghua's cheek and said sadly, "But my daughter is also so beautiful. Mother shouldn't have brought you here. Even though I brought you to this world, mother doesn't have the ability to protect you. My Gua mother has let you down." A 5-year-old girl should be confused about these things, but she could understand that her mother was not very happy. Tanghua thought about it for a moment and quickly comforted her beautiful mother. It seemed like beauty was the bane of this world. If she guessed correctly, the female lead of this world was her mother. Most likely, she didn't have a good ending. It was a good thing for a woman to be born beautiful, but if she didn't have enough strength to protect her beauty, then it would be a disaster. "Mother, it's windy. Come in." Tanghua realized that the woman's body was weak. Now that it was cold outside, she planned to call her into the house. Before the woman could reply, Tanghua felt that there was another person in the courtyard. She quickly walked behind the woman and draped a cloak over her. A pleasant male voice sounded, "Gua, even a child like you knows that it's cold outside. Don't you care about your body again? Nuan Nuan, come in. Nuan Nuan." Her mother's name was indeed pleasant to the ears, but it also sounded very weak. Tanghua raised her head slightly and sized up the man standing beside her mother. This person had sword-like eyebrows, starry eyes, a high nose, and a tall figure. He was obviously not a simple person. Chapter 4986. However, the way he looked at her mother was very gentle. However, Tanghua discovered that within this gentleness, there was a sense of dominance and determination. The hand holding her mother's shoulder was also a little forceful. She guessed that her mother must be in pain. However, her mother did not make a sound and only nodded slightly. Her body was trembling slightly. It was obvious that she was very afraid of this person. Therefore, from her point of view, this person was probably not a good person. "Gua, are you tired?" Do you want to go in and sleep for a while? Tang Gua took the opportunity to yawn. Mother, Gua is tired. I'm so sleepy. She blinked her eyes. Her mother took the opportunity to walk over and hold Tang Gua's small hand, bringing Tang Gua into the house. Tang Gua wanted to know the memories of this world as soon as possible. After returning to the house, she was coaxed to sleep by her mother. The memories that she saw after that proved that Tang Gua's guess was correct. Half of the tragedy of this world was indeed her mother's beauty. This was a martial arts world. However, her mother was born with a weak body and did not know martial arts. Her beauty was fancied. Without any backing, she could not resist at all. She could only be slaughtered like a fish on a chopping block. She was called Tang Wengwan. This name was given because her maternal grandfather's surname was Tang and her maternal grandmother's surname was Wengwan. It represented that the two of them were very loving. Her maternal grandfather was the #1 person in the martial arts world many years ago. The martial arts that he knew could not be compared to the entire martial arts world. To put it bluntly, the entire martial arts world combined was not her maternal grandfather's match. Not only did her maternal grandfather know martial arts, but he also collected countless martial arts in the world. He also had countless treasures. Until now, no one knew where these treasures were kept. Her maternal grandfather was a martial arts fanatic and also a love fanatic. However, her maternal grandfather was not as talented. In the end, he turned into dust before her maternal grandfather. After her maternal grandfather was too sad, he no longer pursued martial arts. He also knew that his daughter did not inherit any of his martial arts talent. Therefore, he handed Carefree Mountain Villa to his disciple, Heng Zhou, who was the man that Tang Gua had met previously, to manage. He was now the villa master of Carefree Mountain Villa, the person with the most authority. He was also extremely talented in martial arts. In the entire martial arts world, there were not many people who could be his opponent. Her grandfather originally thought that if he handed Carefree Villa to Heng Zhou to manage, his daughter would have someone to protect her. If the two of them could truly love each other, it would be a beautiful story. In the beginning, Heng Zhou and Tang Wengwan got along well. Tang Wengwan also liked this senior brother. However, when he went down the mountain to play, Tang Wengwan met more people and made some friends in Jianghu. Heng Zhou was very unhappy because of this. He thought that those people had diverted Tang Wengwan's attention from him, so he didn't allow her to go down the mountain. Because of this, the two of them had countless conflicts. Because of how domineering and possessive the Eternal Boat was, Tang Wengwan was terrified. Gradually, he lost his liking for this senior apprentice brother of his. Instead, he hated him and wanted to stay away from him. Tang Wengwan's attitude made Heng Zhou even more furious. Once, he even wanted to force her. In the end, Tang Wengwan bit him and the matter was settled. Tang Wengwan began to think of a way to escape from Carefree Mountain Villa. Therefore, she contacted the friends she knew in Jianghu and asked them to take her away. She didn't know that the Jianghu young masters she explained to had ulterior motives towards her. No one could compare to her beauty. She was the daughter of that peerless expert who had passed away. No matter which one it was, it made people want to possess her. Chapter 4987. Tang Wengwan had been kidnapped by Xingfeng of the Seamless Building, Emperor Wenren Jian, Wulin's first young master by Yi, Little Prince Abe, and a series of famous people. In the end, Heng Zhou violently took her back. After taking her back, Heng Zhou felt that her body was stained with someone else's scent. His attitude became worse. He asked the maid to bathe Tang Wengwan until her skin turned red. Tang Wengwan couldn't fall in love with such a person, so she tried to escape from the mountain. Once, when Heng Zhou wasn't paying attention, she really escaped far away. She had made a lot of preparations for this escape and had escaped to a very remote place. In the end, she fainted on the road and was rescued by someone. At that time, Tang Wenwan disguised herself. Not only did she look ordinary, but she also had a small scar on her face. When she woke up, she found that she had been rescued by a man who was hunting in the mountains. This man was very gentle and considerate. For a moment, she wanted to stay here and live. With this fake appearance, she didn't look good, but she could live an ordinary life. She didn't have to go back to face that person who wasn't gentle at all. The man didn't dislike her scarred face at all. He was very gentle to her. This was the life Tang Wenwan liked. However, good times didn't last long. When Tang Wenwan was pregnant, Heng Zhou came. Heng Zhou found that Tang Wenwan was married and had a child. Of course, he was furious and wanted to kill the man. The man wasn't afraid. Whether Tang Wenwan was the woman with the scar on her face or the beautiful person, she was still his wife. Therefore, he would rather die than let someone take Tang Wenwan away. Tang Wenwan knew that she was greedy for this plain beauty. She didn't want her husband to die because of this. Therefore, she took the initiative to negotiate with Heng Zhou. As long as he let her husband go, she would go back with him and never run out again. If Heng Zhou didn't agree, she would die here. He could see her for a while, but he couldn't see her for a lifetime. Although Heng Zhou hated her, he had to compromise. He only took Tang Wenwan back and didn't care about Sun Jiushan. Sun Jiushan was Tang Wenwan's husband and Tang was father. He chased after them, but was slapped back by Heng Zhou. If he wasn't afraid of Tang Wenwan, he would have killed Sun Jiushan with a slap. He wouldn't let him live. With only one breath left, Sun Jiushan couldn't catch Tang Wenwan. He could only lie in the grass and watch Heng Zhou take Tang Wenwan away. Tears of blood flowed from the corner of his eyes. Later, Sun Jiushan came to look for Tang Wenwan, but he was slapped down by Heng Zhou every time. Jiushan's recuperation, so he could only come once a year. Every time on this day, Heng Zhou would pervertedly call Tang Wenwan to watch. And Jiushan's SS. Because he had to endure a palm strike every year, no matter how strong his body was, he would not be able to endure it. Sun Jiushan's death meant that the best memory in Tang Wenwan's heart had also disappeared. She wanted to die, but she still had a daughter. Heng Zhou left this child behind to let Tang Wenwan have a few fetters. She couldn't bear to leave only her daughter in the world. Later, Tang Wenwan began to be snatched by others. Even her daughter was often hurt because she was Tang Wenwan's daughter. Chapter 4988. Some of them coveted Tang Wenwan's beauty, some coveted her martial arts manuals, and countless treasures. In short, they all had their own motives. Tang Wenwan was not without friends or people who were willing to help her, but her friends and people who were willing to help her were miserable. Those who harbored evil intentions and wanted to possess her father's secret martial arts manuals and treasures were all deranged people. Tang Wenwan later watched her daughter grow up and felt that if this continued, she would not be able to protect her daughter. Therefore, she began to take the initiative to wander around these people, trying to make them kill each other. Tang Wenwan was indeed very successful. She provoked various disputes in the martial arts world, the imperial court, and beyond the Great Wall. Later, she was called the femme fatale. However, she was a weak woman after all. When she died, no one would be charmed by her beauty. In the end, Tang Wenwan was killed by those righteous people in the martial arts world in the name of getting rid of the demoness. At this time, those who once coveted her beauty no longer stopped her. Some people wanted to help her, but they were powerless. It should be said that they could not even protect themselves. Even the eternal arc was no longer protecting her. Because she was old and ugly, it seemed that they could not get anything from her. Her daughter had also grown up, and many people turned their eyes to her. The previous disputes also ended because of Tang Wenwan's death. Many people were talking about how Master Tang, a martial arts grandmaster, had such a dissolute and fickle daughter. When she died, her reputation was tarnished. Few people would think deeply about what kind of situation she was living in. But her death did not mean the end of the tragedy. Her daughter's fate was similar to hers. Although Tang Wenwan died, her daughter inherited her beauty and was the granddaughter of Master Tang. She should be able to ask about Master Tang's treasures and martial arts manuals from her, right? Tang Wenwan actually did not know those things. When Master Tang died, he knew that those things were a scourge. He did not intend to say it at all. Of course, Tang Wenwan's daughter, the original owner, did not know. Although she was very talented in martial arts, she was spoiled since she was a child. The person who spoiled her was naturally Heng Zhou. The martial arts she learned were not proper martial arts at all. In the end, she could not control herself at all, let alone take revenge. In order to save her dignity, she committed suicide. So, there are not many good people in this world for me. After reading the memory, Tang Guo was a little angry about what happened to Tang Wenwan and the original owner. This world was too unfair to them. Their existence was simply a complete tragedy. They did not even have a chance to resist. Right now, her biological father was about to die of illness. In a few days, it would be the last time he would come over. After this time, they would be separated. She was a child, so she could walk around. She was only 5 years old now, so Heng Zhou didn't pay much attention to her. Her existence was used to threaten Tang's daughter Tang Wang's. Sun Jiushan would come in a few days. Since he was in time, Tang Guan naturally did not want Sun Jiushan to die. Her mother lost her parents when she was a few years old. When she was a teenager, she was kidnapped. The time with Sun Jiushan should be her best memory. Then she would give 2 pills to Sun Jiushan to let him continue to live. She did not know if he had the talent to practice martial arts. If he did, she would give him martial arts manuals and let him go back to practice. Chapter 49-89. As for her, she was a baby now and it was time for her to practice martial arts. As for this Heng Zhou, she had to think of a way to get rid of him as soon as possible so that her mother wouldn't be at a disadvantage. She didn't plan to kill Heng Zhou. She would just cripple him and imprison him. She would let Heng Zhou experience how it felt to be powerless and be manipulated by others. As for the others, she didn't need to panic. She would come one by one and wait for them to come to her. When Tang Guo finished thinking about this and opened her eyes, Tang Wenwan was no longer in the room. She thought that Sun Jiushan would come over in a few days, so she asked the system to find her pills and some good martial arts manuals in the space. Everything would wait until she saw Sun Jiushan. Even if this person was very ordinary, stupid, and silly, he was good to her mother. It wasn't that Sun Jiushan didn't know that it was meaningless to do this, but he was just an ordinary woodcutter and couldn't change all of this. He could only be beaten up once a year in order to see Tang Wenwan. After counting the pills, Tang Guo took out the paper puppet. She took the most advanced paper puppet that Si Yun had refined for her. It had the best strength in this world. It was impossible to have more because the small world didn't allow it. She cut her finger and dripped it on the paper puppet. The 2 of them instantly turned into 2 teenage girls according to her wishes. You 2 hide first. When I go out, follow me secretly. Tang Guo ordered. The 2 maids looked at each other and said in unison, Master, you haven't named us sisters yet. You're all mature paper puppets. You have to learn to name yourselves. It's not like you don't know how to. Tangguo glanced at the two of them. The two of them pursed their lips and finally said, "Then I'll be called Xiaolan. My name is Xiaoying." "Okay, it sounds good," Tangguo said. It wasn't her name anyway. If the two paper puppets liked it, she would return it. "When I grow up and finish my business, you can go and play when I don't need your protection." "Thank you, Master." Xiaolan said, "Actually, it doesn't matter whether we play or not. The main thing is that we prefer to be human. We can do it anywhere." Xiaoying asked, "Master, do we have a mission now?" "There's no need to rush. When there's a mission, I'll instruct you. Within 10 days, I will plan to cripple the Eternal Yacht. When the time comes, I will need your help. The two of you should observe for the next 2 days and see if it's difficult to deal with Eternal Arkansas." "Understood, Master." Tangguo had originally planned to observe Heng Zhou's strength first before getting Xiaolan and Xiaoying to deal with him. But at dinner time, she changed her mind. "Mother, what happened to your neck and hands?" It wasn't that the original owner hadn't discovered this before, but she was too young to understand and was casually deceived by Tang Wingwan. Tang Wingwan burst into tears. "It's okay. I accidentally touched it." Tangguo was not a real child. With her appearance, how could they have met her? It should be that person from Eternal Yacht who had done something beastly. This was not the first time something like this had happened. Ever since Tang Wingwan gave birth to the original owner, Eternal Yacht would attack Tang Wingwan whenever he was unhappy or jealous. He was in charge of Carefree Mountain Villa, so who could resist? "Guo, don't worry. Mother is fine. I'll be fine in a few days." Tang Wingwan comforted Tangguo, but she was actually very upset. Chapter 4990. Every year during these few days, Heng Zhou would be incomparably beastly and would not let her go. He insisted on torturing her until she was covered with scars because Sun Jiushan would come up in a few days. Heng Zhou obviously wanted to anger Sun Jiushan to death and let Sun Jiushan understand that this was a woman he could see but could not have. She belonged to Heng Zhou. Tang Wingwan didn't know if she had done something wrong in her previous life to encounter such a thing in this life. The mother and daughter were talking on the path when another person came. Tangguo subconsciously looked over and saw a woman in a fiery red dress walking in front of Tang Wingwan. She looked at Tang Wingwan with her nose in the air and her face full of disgust. "I don't know what cousin likes about you. You are such a fickle woman. You even brought back a bastard for cousin. Cousin likes you so much." This woman was called Shui Yingjun, Heng Zhou's cousin. She liked Heng Zhou wholeheartedly. Since Tang Wingwan had a child with someone, Heng Zhou did not refuse Shui Yingjun's approach. Tang Wingwan often bumped into the scene of the two. Shui Yingjun was eager to anger Tang Wingwan to death, but Tang Wingwan didn't care about this at all. Heng Zhou's original intention was to anger Tang Wingwan. Seeing that she didn't care, he was even angrier and became more and more unrestrained in front of her. Later, he came up with a way to take her in front of Shui Yingjun, making her lose her face and look invincible. Therefore, Shui Yingjun hated Tang Wingwan very much. He thought that she was a promiscuous woman and often made things difficult for Tang Wingwan in the villa. Tang Wingwan didn't have any force at all and couldn't do anything to Shui Yingjun. She was angry every time. Shui Yingjun didn't dare to really do it. She was afraid that Heng Zhou would punish her, so she could only talk. Tang Wingwan really didn't want to talk to Shui Yingjun. She took Tangguo back to the room. "That Sun guy will come to you in a few days. Are you happy? I heard that his body is not as good as before. He gets sick several times a year. I'm afraid he can't hold on for long. You're living well here. It's a waste of her love. It's really not worth it. Tang Wenwan still didn't speak. The thing she regretted the most was that she had implicated Sun Jiushan. If she hadn't met Sun Jiushan, he would have married someone, had children, and lived a peaceful and happy life. Instead of enduring a beating every year just to see her. She was the one who had harmed that person. But she couldn't die. If she died, Sun Jiushan would die, and so would her daughter. Tang Wenwan touched his red eyes and held back his tears. After sending Tanggua back to her room, she returned to her own room as well. She also wanted to be in the same room as Tanggua, but she was afraid that Hing Zhou would do something wrong and let the child see that embarrassing scene and get hurt. At night, Tanggua didn't sleep. She called Xiaolan and Xiaoying out. Go find Hing Zhou and see if you can capture him. If you can, castrate him and cripple his martial arts. Then, find an abandoned house and imprison him. Xiaolan and Xiaoying looked at each other and floated out of the house. Tanggua sat on the edge of the bed. The system was observing Xiaolan and Xiaoying's movements and reporting to Tanggua in real time. Host, you're too worried. Hing Zhou's martial arts haven't reached that level yet. Under Xiaolan and Xiaoying's attacks, he had no room to resist. They went in quietly and sealed Hing Zhou's acupuncture points. They also sealed his mute acupuncture points and crippled his martial arts. Now, Xiaoying has pulled out a knife and castrated Hing Zhou. Chapter 4991. Eternal Boat fainted from the pain. Xiaolan carried Eternal Boat to find an abandoned house. Xiaoying is cleaning the scene. It's very clean. Others will probably think that Eternal Boat disappeared on its own. The reason why Tanggua didn't want the news of Eternal Boat being destroyed to spread was that she was afraid of alarming others and making them vigilant. In that case, they wouldn't dare to come to Carefree Mountain Villa to kidnap her and Tang Wenwan. She wouldn't be able to secretly deal with these people. She wasn't in a hurry to do it one by one. Anyone who bullied her and her mother would have a share. Didn't they say that this was a world where the strong preyed on the weak? She also wanted them to experience what it meant to be the strong preying on the weak. Not long after, Xiaolan and Xiaoying returned. It could be seen that the excitement on their faces hadn't completely faded. Is everything done? Tanggua asked. It's done. Master, don't worry. Eternal Boat has been imprisoned in an abandoned house by us. Master, get another sister out. After all, we can't let Eternal Boat starve to death. Someone has to deliver food to him. Tanggua thought so too. Thus, she got another paper puppet. It wasn't as strong as Xiaoying and Xiaolan, but it was enough to deal with ordinary warriors. After making the arrangements, Tanggua lay back down. She hadn't explained to the people in the group yet. She closed her eyes and briefly explained to the people in the group about this world. Under Margaret's wailing, Tanggua closed her eyes and fell asleep. Tanggua slept comfortably for the whole night. In the morning, she was woken up by Tang Wenwan for breakfast. She rubbed her eyes, put on her clothes, and was led out by Tang Wenwan. She could feel that Tang Wenwan was a little reluctant to eat with her, but Eternal Boat insisted on eating with her. However, when she arrived at the dining room, she didn't see Eternal Boat. Tang Wenwan felt strange. After a while, Shui Yingjun arrived, but Eternal Boat didn't appear. Why isn't my cousin here yet? Shui Yingjun asked the maid beside her. The maid replied respectfully, this servant doesn't know. Someone has already gone to call the villa master. After waiting for a while, the maid who went to call Eternal Boat came. The manor head is not in the room. He might have gone out. Miss Biao, Miss Nguan, little miss, please have your meal first. Tang Wenwan felt relieved and took Tangua to eat. Shui Ingjun couldn't stand it anymore. Oh, as soon as you hear that your cousin is not here, you still eat vigorously. Tang Wenwan, do you have a conscience? After saying that, Shui Ingjun threw down her bowl and chopsticks and went to look for Hingzhou. She muttered, cousin, I don't know where he went. He didn't even tell me. Tangua ate her fragrant breakfast. How was she going to explain herself when she became a disabled person? The Eternal Ark should be awake by now, right? She had asked someone to place an arrayed disc in that room. Even if the Eternal Ark shouted and screamed inside, no sound would come out. It would only call for help from the heavens and earth. She just didn't know if Eternal Ark was in despair. When night fell, she would go and take a look. In the absence of Hingzhou, Tang Wenwan was obviously more relaxed. Of course, Shui Ingjun did not manage to find the whereabouts of the Eternal Ark and could only return empty-handed. The Eternal Ark had gone out by itself before without telling anyone, so Shui Ingjun didn't find it strange. At night, Tangguo went to the abandoned house to see the Eternal Ark and saw. When the door was opened, Tangguo saw the mess in the house. When the Eternal Ark saw her, a stunned expression appeared on his face. Chapter 4992. He couldn't believe that the person who harmed him like this was actually Tangguo. If it had nothing to do with Tangguo, then why did she come here at this time? And the maid who was looking at him actually called Tangguo master. Could it be that this person was left behind by his master? No, how was that possible? If his master had left behind such an expert, why didn't he listen to Tang Wenwan's orders? Instead, he listened to a child. It was obvious that something was wrong, but Hingzhou thought of his own experience. In the next moment, he rushed towards Tangguo when no one was paying attention. He wanted to grab her, but he was kicked away by Tangguo and fell to the ground. It's you. It's you, you little bastard. Hingzhou let out a shrill cry. Perhaps he didn't expect that he would have such an encounter. The martial arts that he was so proud of had been crippled, and he had even become an androgynous cripple. No matter who it was that had done this to him, he would not let them off. Tangguo, Xiaolan, get me a stool. Tangguo sat on the stool and looked at Hingzhou who was lying on the ground. How does it feel to be at the mercy of others? As long as I, Hingzhou, can get out, I will definitely make you suffer, no matter who you are. Hingzhou couldn't help but guess. Could it be because of Sun Jiushan? Sun Jiushan also had a background. Hingzhou, you don't have a chance. You bullied my mother first, so you deserve this. Get out. In your dreams. Since you're here, how can there be a day when you can get out? Tangguo stood up. Perhaps you can dream. In this life, unless I agree to it, you can only be imprisoned here. Revenge is even more of a pipe dream. How does it feel to be unable to control your own fate and be at the mercy of others? You must be very angry, right? But after experiencing so much, your anger will turn into despair. Just like my mother, you can't escape the despair of people like you. Tangguo pushed open the door. Hingzhou wanted to rush out, but he was kicked by Tangguo. The door closed in front of his eyes. Hingzhou shouted inside, but the people standing outside the door couldn't hear the sound inside. Hingzhou's voice was hoarse from all the shouting, and he could no longer shout. Finally, a trace of despair appeared in his heart. Where are the people outside? Eternal Boat shouted hoarsely. Who exactly was here? Why didn't anyone hear his shouts? Could it be that this was not carefree manner? No matter how hopeless Hingzhou was in the house and how beautiful Tangguo was for the whole night, she was still circulating her inner strength when she was sleeping. In this world, it was necessary to practice martial arts well. Xiaolan stayed by her side while Xiaoying went to protect her mother. The next day, Eternal Yacht still did not appear at Carefree Mountain Villa. Other than Tang Gua and those who knew about it, everyone else thought that Eternal Yacht had something important to do. A smile appeared on Tang Wenwan's face. Shui Yingjun always scolded her for being heartless, but Tang Wenwan didn't care at all. She would never forgive this person for the harm that Heng Zhou had caused her. She couldn't wait for the other party to disappear. Seeing that the day of Sun Jiushan's arrival was approaching, Tang Wenwan became nervous. Sun Jiushan, this was the last bit of beauty left in her heart. When she thought of this person, her heart was filled with guilt, heartache, and a little helplessness. How good would it be if she wasn't Tang Wenwan? Shui Yingjun couldn't wait any longer. She brought people out to inquire about Heng Zhou's whereabouts, but she didn't know that the direction she was heading in was getting further and further away from Heng Zhou. On this day, Sun Jiushan finally arrived. Chapter 4993. Sun Jiushan was prepared to be beaten before he could see that person. But he didn't expect that when he walked to the gate of Carefree Villa, Tang Wenwan and Tang Guo were waiting at the door. Although they were very close, no one took half a step forward. They were afraid that Heng Zhou would suddenly come back and attack them. Sun Jiushan looked at Tang Wenwan. He was obviously a rough man, but his eyes became red and tears flowed down. He rubbed his face hard, trying to wipe away the tears. "Are you okay?" Tang Wenwan nodded with tears. "I'm okay. I'm useless." Sun Jiushan was full of guilt. "If I had the ability, you wouldn't be bullied." Tang Wenwan quickly shook her head. "No, I shouldn't have involved you in this. Otherwise, you would still be the person who happily chopped firewood in the mountains. In the future, you would live a happy and simple life. It's me. I shouldn't have found you and made you suffer." Both of them were afraid of changes. After talking for a while, they reluctantly bid farewell and left. When Sun Jiushan left, he left a roasted sweet potato for Tang Wenwan. "You like it? I brought one every time I came up, but it was crushed into mud by me every time. Because if he was hurt by a palm, he would fall down, and the sweet potato in his arms would be crushed into mud. For 5 years, he came every year, but he never let her have a bite." After Sun Jiushan left, Tang Wenwan quickly took the sweet potato in her hand and quickly went back with Tang Gua. She was afraid that if she walked too slowly, Heng Zhou would come back and trample the only sweet potato into mud. Tang Gua didn't let the two be together in advance because Sun Jiushan couldn't bear such a result now. She still had many plans. Now, it was better to let Sun Jiushan practice martial arts seriously. When the time came, she would let the two reunite. Sun Jiushan reluctantly went down the mountain. After taking a step, he looked back. He covered his heart and coughed twice. His face turned pale. Fortunately, he didn't get hit by Heng Zhou this time. Otherwise, he didn't know if he would have the chance to come again next year. If he wasn't injured, he wouldn't need to recuperate. Next year, the year after that, and the year after that, he might be able to visit her again. After 5 years, he was finally able to personally deliver her favorite roasted sweet potato to her so that she could taste it again. "God, please let me, Sun Jiushan, live a little longer. I don't want to have her, I just want to see her well." If he wanted to take his life, would he be able to free her from her current predicament and prevent her from being bullied by others? God, if you could really let Nuanyuan live the life she wanted, why would he be afraid of losing his life? Even if he had to go to the 18th level of hell, it would be fine. Sun Jiushan. Who? When Sun Jiushan heard a clear female voice calling him, he immediately became vigilant. He had a rotten life, but he had to keep this rotten life to see her. Therefore, he didn't want to die. He didn't want any accidents to happen. Sun Joshan, do you want to practice martial arts? Do you want to become stronger? Do you want to protect the people you care about? Sun Joshan stared blankly at the girl who walked out of the clouds and said unconsciously, "Of course I do. I have 3 secret martial arts manuals here and countless pills to regulate the body. I'll give them to you today. When you've refined them, you can do what you want to do. I just don't know if you'll still be willing to protect that person by then. My heart for Nuanyuan will never change. For her to choose me is a blessing that I, Sun Joshan, have cultivated for several generations." Sun Joshan said with red eyes, "What happened to her was not what she thought. Those people were very hateful, and I didn't have the ability to protect her." Chapter 4994. Good. Sun Joshan, this is your chance. Take this bag and leave. Remember, practice hard. When the woman's voice disappeared, the girl disappeared as well. Sun Joshan held the bag in his arms like a fool. He opened it a little and peeked inside. Then, he pulled it tight and ran as fast as he could. His heart was racing. He ran all the way down the mountain and back home in one breath. He had moved, and it wasn't far from Carefree Mountain. After Xiaolan finished her business, she came back to tell Tang Guo what had happened. Tang Wingwan took her back to her room and took the sweet potato back to her own. "My mother is still eating it all by herself." Tang Guo couldn't help but laugh. Xiaolan spread the news that Carefree Mountain's leader, Heng Zhou, has been missing for a few days. Everyone in Carefree Mountain is looking for Heng Zhou. That meant the people who wanted to steal Tang Wengwan would have to make a move. I wonder who will be able to snatch Tang Wengnu and her away first this time. Xiaoying could stay by Tang Wengwan's side and protect her. That should be fine. 5 days later, there was still no news of Heng Zhou. By now, everyone in Jianghu knew that Heng Zhou had been missing for half a month. No one knew where he had gone. 2 groups of people arrived at Carefree Mountain. They were Xing Feng from the Seamless Tower and Bai Yi, the first master of Jianghu. "Nuan, you should come with me. There is no one in Carefree Mountain. I am afraid you and your mother will be in danger. I am here to take you to my place for a while. When the owner comes back, he will bring you back." Bai Yi smiled as he fanned himself with his fan. Although he looked harmless, he was actually a ruthless master. He had never been polite to Tang Wengwan. These people knew they couldn't get Tang Wengwan's heart. If they had a chance to get her, they wouldn't be polite. Bai Yi was the first master of Jianghu, but his methods were not honorable. Xing Feng was dressed in black. "Are you going with Bai Yi or me? If you follow Bai Yi, I will kill 1 person a day from Carefree Villa. If you follow me, they will live." What a good kill 1 person a day. As expected of someone from the Seamless Tower. A top-class assassin could indeed kill people as easily as drinking water, without any psychological pressure. What else could Tang Wengwan choose? Xing Feng was obviously intimidating. "Landlord Xing, I'll have to trouble you for the next few days." Tang Wengwan said these words with great difficulty. His heart was filled with sorrow. So what if the Eternal Ark was gone? There were too many people who didn't want to let her go. She couldn't control her own fate. Bai Yi frowned. He looked murderous as he looked at Xing Feng. "Fine. I can't beat building leader Xing. I won't blame you for Nuanyuan's choice. When I have the chance, I'll definitely take you away." If it had been many years ago, Tang Wenwan might have really believed this seemingly harmless man. After seeing what kind of person he was, Tang Wenwan felt tired. She was tired of dealing with these people. She just nodded, like a lifeless doll. Tang Wenwan hugged Tangua tightly. She was afraid she would be separated from her daughter. Xing Feng brought a lot of people with him, and he invited Tang Wenwan and her mother down the mountain. At the foot of the mountain, Tang Wenwan sat in a carriage heading to the Seamless Tower. Her eyes were filled with sadness. I heard that whoever defeats the leader of the Seamless Tower will become the real leader. Mother, is that true? Tangua's question drew Tang Wenwan's attention back. She whispered, yes. She then added, Xing Feng's martial arts are weird. He has many tricks up his sleeve. Even the Eternal Arc and Bai Yi are not sure they can beat him. Chapter 4995. It turns out that I'm like this in Nuanyuan's heart. Xing Feng's voice sounded outside the carriage. This time, Nuanyuan is willing to go back to the Seamless Tower with me. I will protect you and not let those people take you away. Tang Wenwan's tone was gentle. Thank you, Master Xing. Nuanyuan, you don't have to be so polite. Xing Feng said. You know what I want. Tang Wenwan said, even if you lock me up in the Seamless Tower for a lifetime, I don't know what you said. If I knew where those things were, I wouldn't have fallen into such a situation. It's fine if the things are gone, as long as Nuanyuan can stay in the Seamless Tower. Tang Wenwan understood that no one would believe that she didn't know where her father hid the martial arts manuals. Master Tang was her father. As his daughter, how could she not know these things? Master Tang only had one daughter. If he didn't give her some, how could he give her some? It was useless to say more, so Tang Wenwan simply stopped talking. She held Tangua's hand tightly and touched her head lovingly. Her heart was filled with despair. She didn't know what would happen in the following days. She would probably be snatched by these people like toys. If it was just her, it would be fine, but her daughter was only 5 years old. At such a young age, she had to suffer so much. How could she bear it? If she had those martial arts manuals, gold, silver, and treasures, she would definitely use them to exchange for her daughter's safety and to stay away from this Jianghu. They arrived at the Seamless Tower. The headquarters was in a dangerous valley. This place was easy to defend and difficult to attack. There was basically no possibility of fighting. In the valley, beautiful pavilions were built. The carriage slowly drove in, and Tangua heard the sound of martial arts training. She lifted the curtain of the carriage and looked outside. Unexpectedly, she saw some children a few years old practicing martial arts with weapons. Nuanyuan, come down. Xing Feng's voice interrupted Tangua's thoughts. She quickly put down the curtain of the carriage and let Tang Wenwan lead the carriage. Stepping out of the carriage, she could see the children training more clearly. Among these children, the youngest was only 4 or 5 years old, and the oldest was 7 or 8 years old. If there were no accidents, they would all be trained as assassins for the Seamless Tower in the future, becoming emotionless killing machines. Some of these children were little beggars picked up from the outside, some were sold here by their parents, and some were kidnapped here because they were talented in martial arts. Xing Feng led the mother and daughter to the pavilion. At this time, a 7 or 8-year-old boy suddenly rushed out from the group of children who were practicing martial arts. While no one was paying attention, he quickly ran outside. In the end, before he could run 2 steps, he was grabbed by the back of his collar and slapped on his butt. The little boy screamed in pain, his face contorted. What's the matter? Xing Feng stopped and asked the steward. The steward replied respectfully and pointed at the little boy in his hand. Tower Lord, this kid wanted to run away, but I caught him. It's not like this kid has tried to run away once or twice, but he was caught every time. If it wasn't for the fact that Tower Lord brought him back personally, I would have thrown him to the back of the mountain to feed the snakes. So it's him. Xing Feng's cold gaze fell on the little boy's face. You want to leave here? Of course I want to leave here. I don't want to stay here. The little boy stubbornly said. This place was not for people to stay. He didn't want to stay here. Chapter 4996. Here, he was beaten every day. Not only was he beaten, but he also didn't have enough to eat. What was even more terrible was that he heard that when the assessment came, people of the same age would have to kill each other. Only the winner could survive. Therefore, he tried his best to run away every day. He knew that he couldn't run away, but he just wanted to try. Today, he ran in front of so many people, not because he thought that he could run away, but because he felt that today was different. The mother and daughter were obviously not with these people. But Xing Feng was polite to them. He just wanted to take a gamble and see if he could attract their attention. Tang Guo found that the little boy was looking at her and winking at her. Obviously, he wanted her to help him. This boy was quite smart. He had good taste. Since he doesn't want to, throw him to the back of the mountain to feed the snakes. Tang Guo found that the little boy's face had turned pale. He continued to wink at her as if to say, help me. If you don't speak, I will be fed to the snakes. Tang Guo saw that the little boy was annoyed. Obviously, he felt that his plan had gone wrong. Wait a minute. Tang Guo said, Uncle Xing Feng, I want him. Xing Feng had never been treated well by Tang Wengyuan. Suddenly being called by Tang Guo like this, he was in a good mood. Little Guo, what do you want? I want that little boy. Tang Guo pointed to the little boy over there and said, I need a little guard. Uncle Xing Feng, can you give him to me? Xing Feng's cold face showed a smile. Of course. It was just a useless boy. As long as he could make Tang Wengyuan and her daughter change their opinion of him, he could be regarded as making use of trash. Bring that boy here. The little boy was brought to Tang Guo. Tang Guo asked, what's your name? Mo Xian. The little boy was relieved. He knew that he didn't see wrong. He should be able to escape today. Are you willing to follow me and be my guard? Mo Xian asked, can you eat your fill? Of course. Can you not be beaten? My hands hurt when I hit you. Mo Xian, sure. Okay, you're mine now. Tang Guo pointed to the position beside her. Come here, stand there, and be quick about it. Mo Xian, this time, Mo Xian didn't resist. No matter what, he had escaped the cruel training of the Seamless Tower. He didn't need to go through that terrifying trial. It was said that among the 100 children, only 3 would be chosen as killers. The rest would die in the hands of their own people during the assessment. Xing Feng didn't care about a little kid. Today, he invited Tang Wengyuan to the Seamless restaurant and let Tang Guo call him uncle, which made him feel good. At this time, Tang Guo was in her room. Except for a maid arranged by Xing Feng, only Mo Xian was by her side. Mo Xian watched as Tang Guo continued to eat, and his stomach began to growl. However, Tang Guo didn't seem to want him to eat. Of course, Tang Guo noticed that Mo Xian was staring at her. No, he was staring at the food on her plate. She raised her head and observed Mo Xian. He looked very thin, but from his behavior and eyes, she could tell that his family was not bad. Then, this guy was most likely abducted here. What an unlucky kid. Her eyes moved from Mo Xian's face to his body and then to his hands. She found that his palms were full of blisters. Chapter 4997. Mo Xian seemed to notice her gaze and hurriedly hid his hands. What are you hiding? Nothing. Mo Xian covered his hands even more tightly. He had never suffered like this before. She even saw his most embarrassing side. Just thinking about it made him angry. You are my little guard now. I want to see your hands. Mo Xian's face was full of hesitation. In the end, he compromised and stretched out his hands to show Tanghua. They look a little scary. I'll ask someone to get you some medicine. Mo Xian's nose twitched. Was his disaster coming to an end? When my family finds me, I'll pay you. Mo Xian said, do you want gold and silver, treasures, or a big house? What are you thinking about? You're already one of my people, my guard. You're mine, and your things don't belong to me, right? What do you mean by, give me? Everything you have is mine. Even if your family finds you, your inheritance will be mine. Do you understand? Mo Xian was dumbfounded. You, what about me? Am I not telling the truth? Didn't I save you? Tanghua asked. Mo Xian said, you saved me. Otherwise, I would have been fed to the snakes. Then from now on, your life doesn't belong to me. Mo Xian, had he left the wolf's den and entered the tiger's den? Tanghua asked someone to give Mo Xian medicine and prepare food for him. Xingfeng knew about it and didn't care about it. In his opinion, it was at most a child who suddenly had an interest in something. Since everyone was here, no one could escape from him. At this time, the news had spread that Tang Wenwan and her mother had been caught by Xingfeng and taken to the Seamless Tower. Those who were interested in Tang Wenwan and her mother were also thinking about how to take them away from the Seamless Tower. In the evening, Tanghua called Xiaolan to her side and took out a paper puppet in front of Xiaolan. In fact, she preferred to solve the problem by herself. But this was a martial arts world. Practicing martial arts was not easy. It would take her several years to master it. At that time, her mother would be bullied by many people. Therefore, she could only choose to use the paper puppet to help her. She took out a high-grade paper puppet and dripped a drop of blood on it, turning it into the face of an unfamiliar adult man. Come up with a name for yourself. Yes, master, then I'll be called Tang Ji. Alright, my mission for you is to defeat Xingfeng and replace him. After he is defeated, no one will care where he goes. At that time, you can cripple his martial arts and lock him up next to the snake cave in the back of the mountain. Don't let him die, just let him be with the snakes. In the original plot, Xingfeng had done something and deliberately let the original owner be bitten by a poisonous snake. He wanted to test Tang Wenwan and see if she knew where the martial arts secret books and treasures were hidden. Of course, in the end, they didn't manage to find out anything. Both mother and daughter were greatly injured because of this. Yes, master. Also, reorganize the Seamless Pavilion. Don't go and steal other people's children for fun. Release those children who have families. Don't use the same cruel training methods as before. In short, use your intelligence and wisdom to develop the Seamless Pavilion. This is the place where you will settle down in the future. Do it freely and do it well. Understood, master. Xiaolan gave Tang Ji an envious look. This guy was so comfortable. He could accept such a big career as soon as he came out. It really made people's blood boil. She hoped that her master's matter would be finished soon. Then she could go and play. Chapter 4998. The next day, when Tanghua woke up, she found that something was wrong in the room. Sure enough, when she opened her eyes, she saw a poisonous snake on the ground. Her face darkened, and she put on her clothes as if nothing had happened. Xingfeng really couldn't wait. He knew that Tang Wenwan cared about her daughter very much, so he wanted to use her life to test whether Tang Wenwan knew where those things were. In fact, Tang Wenwan was a very simple person. All she needed was a very simple, very pure love. Unfortunately, these people who wanted to take her away, in addition to liking her, also had other motives. How could she treat them differently? What annoyed Hingzhou the most was that he couldn't compare to a man who chopped firewood and hunted in the mountains. He would never understand that this man had Tang Wenwan's favorite thing. This was something that all the heroes in the martial arts world couldn't do. For Tang Wenwan, no one could compare to Sun Jiushan. These heroes said that they liked her and wanted to protect her, but they would still hurt her because of the treasure behind her. They would also abandon her because she was old and weak. They didn't really like her. Even if they did, they only liked her skin. Tang Guo glanced at the poisonous snake on the ground. If she didn't look carefully, she wouldn't be able to see it. After she came, the plot changed a little, so this thing happened in advance. Master, do you want me to help you kill that poisonous snake? Tang Guo, no, I like to play with snakes. Lon, what? Tang Guo stared at the poisonous snake. This poisonous snake was not an ordinary one. Someone must have trained it. She got out of bed, walked over, and stepped on the head of the poisonous snake. Watching the snake's body twist, she bent down and pinched it. Then she went to open the door with the poisonous snake. Mo Xian was about to greet Tang Guo. When he saw that she was holding a poisonous snake in her hand, he was so scared that he took 2 steps back. Coward! Mo Xian quickly came up. Why are you holding a snake? This guy appeared in my room for no reason, so I caught him. I'll take him to my mother. I'll take out the snake's gallbladder later. I heard that this thing is very nutritious. Tang Guo said to Mo Xian, find me a small knife. Mo Xian took the knife and followed Tang Guo to find Tang Wenwan. When Tang Wenwan saw Tang Guo holding a poisonous snake, he exclaimed, Guo, what are you holding? Mother, don't be afraid. It's just a small poisonous snake. I don't know where this small poisonous snake came from. I heard that snake gallbladder is very nourishing, so I came to dig it out for you. She happened to see that Xingfeng was also there. Uncle Xingfeng, can you help me dig out this snake's gallbladder and give it to my mother to nourish her body? Tang Wenwan was weak, but she was not a timid person. She was not afraid of the poisonous snake, but she was afraid that Tang Guo would be hurt by it. Seeing that Tang Guo had already pinched the poisonous snake, she breathed a sigh of relief. Then she became suspicious. This poisonous snake was not ordinary at first glance. It was definitely not an ordinary poisonous snake. It ran out and ran into her daughter's room. Thinking of Xingfeng's request, a trace of hatred flashed through her eyes. She just didn't know martial arts, but she was not ignorant. On the contrary, she read a lot of books and knew a lot of things. Xingfeng wanted to harm her daughter to threaten her or to test whether she knew where her father's treasure was hidden. Tang Wenwan, who had figured it out, didn't want Tang Guo to kill, but it was Xingfeng's snake. So what if she killed it? Chapter 4999. It wasn't easy to raise such a venomous snake. My seamless tower has many tonics to nourish the body. This snake. As expected, Xingfeng wanted to refuse. But Tang Guo insisted, why can't I try? I'll dig it out myself and use it as medicine for mother. Tang Wenwan didn't stop her. Her daughter was really bold. It was better for her to be bold. It would be best if she was talented in martial arts. If she could practice martial arts, she wouldn't be bullied in the future. Xingfeng watched helplessly as his snake's gallbladder was taken out by Tang Guo. The corner of his mouth twitched. Mo Xian found that Tangua's knife was very straightforward. He realized that this little girl wasn't simple. It seemed that he had good eyes to ask her for help. Then I'll leave it to Uncle Xingfeng to use it as medicine. Tanguo left the snake and gallbladder to the side. She took the handkerchief from Mo Xian and wiped her hands. Then, she turned and ran to play. System, is the host disgusting Xingfeng and then leaving? Xingfeng hadn't recovered from the fact that his snake had been killed when he heard someone calling for a fight outside. Xingfeng was furious. He took his weapon and went over. Since they were looking for death, he would fulfill their wish. Mother, I heard that someone is looking for trouble with the thief Xingfeng and wants to challenge him. Do you think that person can win? Tang Wenwan gradually got used to her daughter's double-dealing. She called him uncle in front of others and called him a thief behind his back. She didn't find it strange. She only felt that her daughter was sensible. She knew when to show and when to hide. The more her daughter understood these things, the more she could protect herself in the future. She had to find a way to make such a smart daughter practice martial arts. However, she was trapped here and had no other way. She had memorized some martial arts manuals, but this was someone else's place. If she showed it, she would definitely be doomed. No one would be able to save them. Mother doesn't know. I don't know if that person is good or evil. It was a good thing that Xingfeng was defeated, but if that person wasn't good, it wouldn't be a good thing for them. The two talked for an hour. Suddenly, there was a sound outside. Then, a voice came. Xingfeng was defeated. The Seamless Tower has a new owner. The new tower master wanted to reorganize the Seamless Tower and release those who didn't want to stay. Everyone in the house, listen up. If you're willing to leave, leave before the sun sets. I won't wait for you. Tang Wenwan was stunned. Why was this like a dream? Who was it that defeated Xingfeng so quickly and even let them go? Was it because the other party didn't know who she was that they let her go? That couldn't be right. Everyone in Jianghu should know that she was in the Seamless Pavilion. There was no way they didn't know. Mother, can we leave now? Tang Wenwan said with uncertainty, Mother doesn't know. Maybe we can try. Mother will pack up. Let's go out and have a look. Tang Wenwan packed her bag and held Tangua's hand. She found that Mo Xian was beside Tangua. She hesitated for a moment and asked, Is this child going with us? Mother, he is my little guard. If he doesn't follow me, who else should he follow? Tang Wenwan thought it wasn't a big deal. Anyway, they didn't have the strength to truss a chicken. It didn't matter if there was another child who couldn't be beaten. Tang Wenwan found that Tangua's small bag was a bit heavy. When she opened it, she found that it was full of gold and silver. She was a bit surprised. Mother, when we go out, we can't do without gold and silver. If I ask the little guard to carry these, he shouldn't be discovered. Even if he is discovered, it doesn't matter. Mo Xian and I have a lot hidden on us. Tang Wenwan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She sighed in her heart that her daughter had grown up. Tangua was also afraid that when she took out the money, it would be hard to explain without a source. That was why she did this. Thus, the three of them went down the mountain. The new tower master didn't stop them. Tang Wenwan was in a trance. She suddenly felt that she was free. The three of them traveled together for 2 days. It was the happiest time for Tang Wenwan. She didn't know where to go, so she could only go back to Carefree Mountain Villa. But before she reached Carefree Mountain Villa, she was stopped by a group of people. I heard that the Seamless Pavilion has changed owners. I came to find you. Nuan Nuan, come back to the palace with me. This time, the person who stopped them was the Emperor, Wen Renjian. Tang Guo rubbed her hands in her sleeves. He came just in time. She had been busy these 2 days. Chapter 5000. They had been on the road for days, so the carriage was very bumpy. Wenren Jian's arrival made Tang Guo a little happy. The carriage arranged by the emperor must be the best. It must be comfortable to sit in. She saw that the smile on Tang Wenwan's face disappeared and she was very calm again, so she ignored her. In order to deal with these people one by one, she would let her mother suffer for the time being. Of course, Tang Wenwan would not resist. She had no manpower and no force. She couldn't even fight against the people in Wulin. How could she fight against the emperor who had thousands of soldiers and horses? Wenren Jian was very happy that Tang Wenwan was sensible enough to arrange the best carriage. Mo Xian felt very strange. He had noticed earlier that when the emperor stopped them, Tang Guo was not only not afraid, but also had a look of relief on her face. This was very strange. In this way, Tang Guo, her mother, and Mo Xian sat in the carriage arranged by the emperor. Tang Guo sat in the carriage and slept comfortably. God knew that she had been on the road for days. She was afraid of meeting robbers, so she didn't sleep well. Tang Wenwan saw that Tang Guo was asleep, so she just thought that she was tired. She opened a corner of the curtain of the carriage and looked at the passing scenery. She sighed in her heart. She didn't know when the days of being robbed would come to an end. In this way, she had no chance to teach the martial arts secret books that she had memorized to her daughter. If her daughter couldn't learn martial arts, how could she protect herself in the future? Unfortunately, these people who robbed her didn't just want to treat her well. They had other purposes. She couldn't trust any of them. "Madam, are you worried about something?" Mo Xian saw Tang Wenwan sighing and Tang Guo sleeping comfortably. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. The mother and daughter's performance was really different. One slept peacefully, while the other was full of worry. Tang Wenwan took back her eyes and said to Mo Xian, "I don't know when it will come to an end." There was no news of Heng Zhou so far. She was indeed relieved. But without Heng Zhou, there were countless people like Heng Zhou in Wulin. She couldn't avoid it. So, how could she not sigh? She could only sigh. Her daughter had to suffer as well, and she didn't know what would happen in the future. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Madam, you don't have to worry. Just treat it as a journey. When it's time to stop, it will naturally stop. In my opinion, Madam's wish will definitely be fulfilled in the future." Mo Xian's words were half true and half false. If his family could find him, the chances of him escaping danger were still high. If he couldn't find it, then he could only resign himself to fate. In addition, he felt that this little girl, Tang Guo, was not simple. She must have her own plan. But what kind of plan could this little girl have? Even Tang Wenwan didn't know. He didn't believe that she didn't have a plan. He wanted to send a message to his family, but unfortunately, he didn't have a carrier pigeon. He could only leave some secret signals along the way. He didn't know if his family could see these secret signals. If he couldn't see it, he would be finished. It was his parents' fault for being so unreliable. They only cared about themselves and left him to the side. As a result, Xing Feng, who was passing by, caught him and brought him back to the Seamless Pavilion. It was a pity that Xing Feng's fame was short-lived, but he was defeated. He deserved it. Now that the Seamless Pavilion was being reorganized, he didn't know what kind of person could actually release them. There were still many people who were released from the mountain that day. He felt that the Wulin was about to change. Chapter 5001. You know a lot, kid. Tang Wenwan smiled and touched Mo Xian's head. Mo Xian rubbed his head obediently. He thought that other people's mothers were so nice. She was gentle, spoke gently, touched his head, and smiled at him. His mother was not like that. She called him a brat, a silly boy, and patted his head. He was not injured, but it was painful. Tang Wenwan felt Mo Xian's closeness to her, so she felt pity for him. I heard that you were caught by Xingfeng and brought to the Seamless restaurant. Yes, I was waiting for my parents at the crossroad. I didn't expect that I would be caught by Xingfeng. Xingfeng was good at martial arts, and the servant beside him was also injured. Do you know where your home is? Maybe I can help to send you back. Tang Wenwan thought that Wenren Jian would not refuse if she proposed this condition. Wenren Jian wanted to catch her and her daughter. He would not care about other irrelevant people. Most likely, he would do her a favor. My parents don't have a fixed residence. They take me to wander around all year round. Even if Madam sends someone to find them, I'm afraid they can't find them. The main reason was that if his identity were to be publicized, it would be dangerous. After all, there were many greedy people in the martial arts world. Maybe they wanted to catch him to exchange for something. Tang Wenwan and her daughter were a typical example. Well, then I have no choice. You can stay with me for the time being. Maybe it will be bumpy, but at least you can keep your life. I hope your family can find your whereabouts and take you back. We are a family. Tang Guo woke up in a daze. She did not expect that Mo Xian and her mother were chatting. They seemed to hit it off. Mo Xian's words often made Tang Wenwan laugh. She also saw that when Tang Wenwan touched Mo Xian's head, he rubbed his head contentedly as if she was his mother. At this moment, Mo Xian was sitting beside Tang Wenwan and talking with her about some interesting things. Tang Wenwan's tone was very gentle, and her eyes were full of love as if she had a son. Tang Guo did not disturb her. It was good to have a child to make her mother happy. She was too lazy to pretend to be a child. With this little brat around, she wouldn't be so tired. She yawned, turned over, and continued to sleep. Mo Xian also had a part in the plot, but it was very little. After this brat was captured and brought to the Seamless Tower, he tried to escape, but in the end, he failed and was thrown into the snake cave by Xingfeng. He had suffered a lot, but he didn't die. He even had a body that was impervious to poison. It was just that his skin had festered from being bitten by snakes. It was very miserable. Even after he recovered, there were still scars on his body. Xingfeng saw that his talent was not bad, so he took him in as a disciple. After suffering so much, Mo Xian no longer resisted and became Xingfeng's disciple. Many years later, he defeated Xingfeng and became the Tower Lord of the Seamless Tower. On the first day he became the Tower Lord, he disbanded the Seamless Tower. Then, he threw Xingfeng into the snake cave behind the mountain and watched as Xingfeng was bitten to death by the snakes. After Xingfeng's death, Mo Xian disappeared and there was no news of him. Some people said that they had seen Xingfeng at the seaside. He seemed to have gone out to sea. In less than 3 days, the news that Tang Wenwan and her mother were brought back to the palace by the emperor, Wenren Jian, had spread all over Jianghu. People in Jianghu all looked at the palace, but no one dared to do anything. After all, it was the palace with countless masters. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.